Should be live now. You should be able to hear me on YouTube. If you can give me a 5x5 in the comments to let me know the audio is going through, I would appreciate that. Sorry for the delay. I thought it was 4:30. Apparently it was actually 4 p.m. But we're here now. And I will go ahead and start the space over on X, and I will post the link to that in the description. The goal of this is for people who disagree with me to come on and debate. Okay, I am starting the spaces. Everything is slow today. We did have the issue last time with the audio delay and with some glitchiness on the YouTube. And that was fixed by just quitting the YouTube. So it's possible I have to quit the YouTube again today, but we're going to see what happens before we do that. Video lag. Everything is so slow. I can't even start the space right now. Can't even load Twitter. People are talking about glitchiness again. And we had that yesterday. I was able to stream to YouTube and do the spaces one time. And so if we have an issue where the YouTube is causing the audio delay, I will just stop the YouTube and then you can come over to the Twitter and do it over there. Someone is saying the sound is perfect. Awesome. Okay. We're going to wait for anyone to come in. I will go ahead and post it to Twitter now. Or I'll post the Twitter link to the YouTube stream. And here is that link right there. So if anyone wants to debate, please go over to X, and my mic level should be okay. I can get closer though. If you wish to debate me on anything, please go over to X and go on to that spaces that I just linked in the comments and hit the button. I think it's a purple button that is the request to speak button, and then we can talk. Seem to have lost that for some reason. Yeah, right now we're just waiting for people to come in and ask to speak on the Twitter spaces so we can get a debate going. Yeah, we had John last night. He was tweeting me at, I guess, texting frequency. I tried to get him into his spaces, but he had some excuses. Might have been legitimate excuses, but I don't know. But I don't think it was. I hoped he would come on, but he did not come on. But maybe I'll check this right now and he'll be in. Nope, I don't see him yet. Maybe he'll come in. But we are still just waiting on someone to come into the Twitter spaces. I'll paste it again in the chat. And then we can start debating. Okay. I'm just going to keep checking X to see if. Oh, we have a request. Pledge Light. Hey, Pledge Light. I have allowed you to speak in here now. You should be able to speak. Thanks for coming on. What do you believe about the case and why?
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
I can. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Yes, my name is Pleasure Light.
What do you
Hold on, I
believe
think I
about
gotta
the
turn
case
off
and why?
your YouTube side. Hold on one second. All right, you can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
So yeah, the Charlie Kirk thing. I'm on the fence on whether I believe he's alive or dead. The reason being is that the multiple accounts of like Harrison Smith, who works for Alex Jones, I think in August 25th, put a tweet out saying that he had multiple death threats. Charlie Kirk was aware that he was gonna get killed or assassinated before his time. Um, then you have also a red flag behavior from Erica Kirk. Um, 3 days before Charlie died was the first time she ever posted on Twitter in years. So I think it was September 9th. No, excuse me, September 8th, 9th, and I think it was just 3 days before. Specifically, she put three Bible quotes up before his death. So it's kind of look like a lot of alibis going on. I do believe Erica Kirk is a honeypot, and just her whole military background and you know starting an orphanage at 17 years old, um, you know, going into a beauty pageant that was owned by Donald Trump, um, her connection to Tyler Boyer and Tyler Boyer, who was the COO of Turning Point Action, um, all who also started the company with Charlie Kirk, Turning Point. Um, he he's the one that put Erica Kirk behind the Trump rally in 2015. He said this at the funeral. Um, so you have a multiple connections that how did Tyler Boyer know Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk at the same time, right? So that's a red flag. It could, right? Whether you could say she's a honeypot or the whole marriage itself or the whole meaning is a whole psyop. So if it is a psyop, and if Charlie Kirk was aware that he was going to get assassinated, um, it just screams that it's a possibility he either faked his death for the big stage to get off the stage, or they really assassinated assassinate him, of course, he went off script. And, it could for me, it could go either way. There's just so much evidence both ways. Um, Again, my evidence is just, I'm just building on my pattern recognition of evidence of things that he's been saying before. He was pro-Israel in the beginning, and in the last maybe 2 years since the October 7th situation, he's been going on campuses debating people, and he's constantly hearing the Israel argument about why should we be giving our money to Israel. Excuse me, I'm not too sure if you want me to say that name. I'm sorry,
Sure.
but um
So let's go
yeah. So
ahead.
he's been just the last, I guess, yeah,
So I wanted to do a fact check real
yeah, no
fast.
fault. Please,
You said that Erica
no problem.
Kirk tweeted in the days leading up immediately to September 10th. I did pull up her X real fast, and I
Correct.
think that's on the screen on YouTube. It looks like
Okay, I'll look it up. Okay.
September 8th, she posted a Bible verse. September 9th,
Uh-huh.
she posted a
Mhm.
Bible verse. And then
Mhm.
September 10th, she did again. And she reposted some
Correct.
things on July 11th, reposted something on May 31st, and reposted something on
Mhm.
March 2nd. It's a lot of repostings. And then you're correct.
Mhm.
The last time she actually tweeted something herself
Right.
was September 19th, 2 years ago, 2023. So that's what I see on her main feed. So I do concur with the general thrust of that. And I'm going to look at her replies real fast. But is there any
Correct.
particular topic you wanted to discuss that you might disagree on?
Correct.
Is there any particular topic you'd like to discuss?
As far as so I think when I've been just watching on your last videos and stuff like that, you were trying to replicate that the shooting has to be like where it's kind of like a fake shooting, and then you're trying to replicate the shot and then through the neck and all that other stuff. I do think you're onto some. I'm curious. Like I keep an open mind. I'm not trying to have a hard stance against stuff you're doing. Because I think you're the only one that's actually trying to replicate this side of the Charlie Kirk case. So it's a nice little niche. But as far as if I think he's really got shot, um, it's gonna be very hard to prove. I'm not gonna lie. So, but it's possible, man. Listen, it's possible. But as far as if I think if it's a one big psyop, I think it's possible that he's gone, man. I just could, just from the stance of his last we seen the growth change from his arguments in the last 2 years, and it just seems like he went off script, and
Okay. So
I don't think the Trump administration or anybody, yeah, go ahead.
if you had to choose right now, if you had to bet on it or something, would you say he's dead or alive?
Uh-huh. I would say he's gone. He's dead.
Okay. And what evidence makes you think
I would have
that?
to say he's dead. Based on, the trajectory of his growth, I would say he's dead. Based on
Okay.
the evidence of his growth from pro-Israel and switching that stance, his using his platform to switch would be a threat to kind of what the investors invested him into.
Okay. And what
His
killed him?
donors, they all invested him to have that stance. For him to switch it, it's kind of like what killed him. I would think the pro-Israel team that he was working with. It would
So
have to be his team. His
what
team.
physically
He
killed
cannot
him?
get. He can't. It has to be an inside job. It's not like what physically killed him. It could have been. It could have been the exploded mic. I don't. I'm not too sure what I could say, but it could be an exploded mic.
Okay.
It can be.
Let's go talk about the
It
exploding
could
mic
be. It
then.
could be some because that was always a red flag to me. The puffer up of the shirt and then kind of the blood leaking out after. That was
Hmm.
always a red flag. So it could have been something where his mic was a part of the issue.
And what makes you
But
think?
as far as faking it, that would be harder, to pull that off because he
I think we have a lot of delay here. I'm speaking
I'm
and
listening. Go
then
ahead.
you're not hearing me. But what evidence leads you in the direction of the microphone exploding? And if you can clarify which microphone you're talking to.
The puffering up I think the lapel mic, the one that's on his shirt, it may not have been the essential, like I said, I'm new to this space on, beeping like exploding pages and stuff like that. I was just aware that Israel had that technology, and they bragged about it. They even gave Trump a pager. It's kind of like it was kind of like a subliminal message, So it's just like Netanyahu was on the record stating that every technology that everybody uses basically comes from Israel. So it's basically like he has like some type of Trojan horse in within technology. So I wouldn't be too surprised that the tech that Charlie had also came from Israel.
Okay,
So
let's focus
I,
on the
I can't
physical
tell you
evidence that we
definitively if it's a
see on
bullet, if it's a
Charlie.
shrapnel.
I'm talking over you. I think it's just the delay. Let's focus on
Yeah,
the physical evidence we see on Charlie.
uh
When we
huh,
see the shirt billow up, where is the
uh
shirt
huh.
telling us the
Yeah, I would have to
explosion
be
is happening?
correct
Where is the shirt telling us to look for an origin for an explosion or an overpressure event?
in his chest area,
Okay, what part of his chest?
in the chest area. I'll just keep it brief. I'm not gonna rip my mouth.
Okay,
I would say right above his nipples, if you want to say it, I guess.
which one? Which side?
I would have to look at the video, but I'm gonna say he's facing the crowd, so I'm gonna say his right, facing the crowd, our left,
Okay,
looking at him.
are you able to look at a video on X right now?
And this is just visual memory. I don't have
Yeah.
the video on my face.
Why don't we pull up the video? Can you pull up my
Yeah,
profile?
I can. Hold on. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to scroll down on my main profile to where I reposted
Uh-huh. I'm
something
here.
from John Bray, and there's a video on that post.
Okay, I see it.
Can you watch the
All
first few
right.
frames of that video and tell me where you think the energy is coming from?
Oh, so his left.
Is left. Okay. And do you know where the cross pendant is
It
located?
looks like his left side.
Or let's go with the microphone. Where's the lapel microphone located? Do
The
you know?
cross pendant should be on his right side, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken. Let me look at the continue of the video, but that's just off measure visual memory.
Okay. So we need to locate both things.
And his pendant should be underneath the shirt. So his pendant should be the center of his shirt.
Yes. And then when you look up on my profile, you'll see an image of Charlie of his white freedom t-shirt and a blue triangle. Can you look at that?
Okay, so this is not the John Bray video.
Correct. It
What
is
date is this?
it's an image just above that post.
This is the January 14th one?
Um I don't think so. It's 18 hours ago. It's the post right
Yeah,
above the
right. I think
John
this is
Bray.
the January 14th.
I don't think so. I think it was yesterday. But there's a blue triangle
Okay, hold
painted
on.
on Charlie.
Before it. Okay, it's freedom. Got you. I'm here.
Can you see the blue triangle?
What's the question again?
Do you see the blue triangle?
Yes.
Can you tell me if you think there's a cross pendant right above that blue triangle?
Yes.
Okay. So would you agree that's where the cross pendant is located?
Above it. I'm on my I let me see. I would have to trace down where his uh it's hard to tell, but I don't think so. No, I don't think so. It's hard to tell though.
Okay.
I won't think it's right there though. I would think I think it would be between uh the E and the D,
Okay.
the left E and the D, like on a triangle or slope down.
Do you see the 4 points
The
kind
left
of
E and then the
coming
D
out of
from freedom.
the shirt? You see the top of the pendant, the left of the pendant, and then the right, and then the bottom. It might be hard to tell on a cell phone screen if you're not able to zoom in, but you can see the outline of the
I'm
pendant
on a
sort of
TV.
pushing through. You're on a TV. Do you see those 4 points right directly under the D for
I'm
freedom?
I'm on a 75-inch TV. I'm really having a hard time. Let me see. The 4 points. Nah, not at all. I don't see anything.
And you're looking at the image of Charlie with the blue triangle right on his chest, right?
With the blue triangle, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, I see it and other people see it.
I don't
I'm
see what
not
you're seeing.
okay. Well, I can see there's 4 points of a cross right under the D for freedom. But let's move on to the lapel mic. Do you know where the lapel mic is located?
Okay. It would be should be, where the R is, no? Well, it's not in the picture, but I'm assuming later on it's where the R is
Right. It's
later on,
not in that
or the
picture.
right between the R and the F.
Right. Um, you can go to, can you go to archive.org or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can. I'm on my computer now. It's on
Right.
the TV, so
We're going to go to archive.org and I'm
archive.
not going to
And
paste it
I
there.
have a lot of these saved already on my, stuff. I
You
make
have
videos
the,
myself, so
it's archive.org /download /Kirk shooting, one word.
okay.
And then once you get in there, you're going to click on the very top one, which is 1.mp4.
Nice.
Then viewer discretion advised. This one does have gore. This is a video of the
Okay.
shooting, but this will give you a good image of where
Okay, got it.
the microphone is.
I see it.
And do you see the black square sort of by his right clavicle?
Alright, let me see. His Microsoft. Yes, I see what you're talking about.
Okay. Would you agree
Yep,
that's
I
where
see it.
the lapel mic is?
I definitely agree.
Okay, perfect. Now, when we look back at the John Bray video, you can maybe go back to my
Yeah, let's
profile.
go back. I
When
got you.
we
I'm
look
here.
at that
Everything's in tab, so you're still good.
when we look at that very first image with all the green arrows and the heat map and all the stuff going on in the very first frame of motion, where would you say all that energy is moving towards?
Alright, let's see. Hold on. As per the video, it looks like everything's uh pointing triangular up where the D is going up, the E and D and O is all pointed upwards.
Hmm.
So, but it's looking like it's starting from the opposite side of the lapel mic.
Right. So if the lapel mic were the source of that energy, would it come from the lapel mic or would it come from below the D in freedom?
It would become from the D in freedom. You have a point. I like this. Thank you. I like this.
Okay, so just to clarify, if it were coming from the lapel mic,
Good argument.
it would
That's a good point. I
it
like
would
that.
not come from the D in freedom, right?
Correct. It would not come from the opposite side if it was coming from if it was the lapel mic, it would be coming from the lapel mic side.
Perfect. So I think we agree on that then. That's why I do not believe the exploding microphone theory. Is there any other evidence that points you in the direction of the exploding microphone?
Um, again, hold on one second. Just
Sure.
1 second. All right, so um, any other evidence that points to the microphone? Let me see. Nah, I mean, you kind of made a case. I'm not too sure how much this heat signature thing operates on accuracy based on the videos, but just based on the trajectory of how the shirt is moving, I'm gonna assume that that the heat signature is actually accurate on the videos. So again, I'm not too sure how accurate these visuals are with the heat signatures, but it's the opposite side. It is showing on the slow mo. That's the opposite of the lapel mic. So as far as any other evidence, no, I don't have any.
Okay. I was just looking at one of my notifications. What was the piece of evidence you said?
But again,
Sorry.
that was just kind of my theory on. Yeah,
So was it explosive debris
I was
that?
saying I don't really have any evidence
Okay.
outside of that.
Okay. Would you like to hear what I think happened?
Absolutely, that's what I'm here for.
Sure. So because all of that energy starts, we're saying there's some audio issues. What I say is because the energy starts at where we can see the cross pendant, and I know that you can't see it on your TV, but we do have pretty conclusive visual evidence that it was right around that exact same point. I think that the energy started at the cross pendant, right where it looks like it did, and the energy would have had to have been an overpressure event, so rapid expansion of gas. And in order to get the cross pendant to shoot up the way it did, the entire necklace shoots upwards and backwards, and it almost falls off of his neck. And when I do these tests, these demonstrations in my room here, I have
In
to
fact,
work really hard to get. Can you mute your mic, please, when you're not talking? I'll mute it. I'll mute it.
yes.
Thank you. So I think,
All right, one second. My fault. I have a child here. Sorry.
sure, no problem. All right, I think we're good. Thank you so much. I think the cross pendant had to have been shot up by compressed air. You can go to Home Depot and buy the tools to do this. Go into the plumbing section, get a drain cleaner powered by CO2. You pull a trigger and it shoots out compressed air, basically, in order to clog a stuck drain. So I can go to Home Depot and I can buy one of those drain cleaners and I can shove a cross pendant into a hose connected to that drain cleaner, and I can pull the trigger on the drain cleaner, and I can reproduce pretty much exactly what we see happen to Charlie. And that shoots the pendant up more or less the same way we see happen on Charlie. So then we have to figure out, okay, since we can reproduce exactly what we see using compressed gas with a tube connected to the cross pendant, now we have to ask, why are we doing this? Why would someone do this or something like this? And then we get to the faked death theory, which says that for some reason, when you do a Hollywood gag, a blood effect for a film, you have to solve some problems in order to get that technology to transfer over to a live setting. Because on a film set, you can use CGI, you can use camera cuts, you can use camera angles, you can use bad lighting to hide the tricks you use to fake a death on a screen. But when you take that over to a live scenario where you have a live audience 360 degrees around, and when you have a photographer taking super close up photos of the person's neck, and when you have people so close to him with undisturbed visual access to him for so long, for up to an hour if you include the time you spend with the local TPUSA chapter, then you have to solve some problems that you normally don't have to in Hollywood, because the little tricks you use don't work anymore because you can see all these tricks. Because the lighting is perfect, you can't cut away, you cannot control the angle that the audience is looking from, so you have to solve some problems. So I believe that the reason the shirt shoots up the way it does has something to do with the solution to those problems. And I haven't found out what exact problem it's solving yet, but what I'm quite certain of is that the reason the shirt shoots up is because of an overpressure event due to compressed gas, probably CO2, and it has something to do with solving a problem that comes from trying to transfer Hollywood technology to a live setting. That's what I think. What do you think?
I think that's a pretty fair and accurate theory. Um, but to get to that point, then you would have to ask yourself, is he in on it? If he if he's in on this thing, then is everybody else in on it too? Like I'm trying to understand how the domino effect of all of that would work if everybody's aware that this is all happening at the same time.
Yes,
And if they're all in on it,
I think
then
pretty much everyone
it
is
begs
in
the
on it,
question. Right.
including, so you know how the security guards were doing all the weird hand signals immediately before the shooting?
Say that again.
You know how all the security guards were doing all these really weird hand signals right before the shooting? Am I coming
Yeah,
through?
somewhat. I have seen videos in previous events where they kind of do the same hand signals, similar, not the same ones though. But yeah,
Sure. So what I've seen after looking at these videos extensively and what a lot of other people see is Hunter Kozak, the person Charlie Kirk is debating, he does a hand signal to Brian Harpole, I think, and then Brian Harpole does a hand signal to, I think, the audio people, or maybe to Frank Turek. Or no, Hunter Kozak signals to Frank Turek. Frank Turek signals to the audio people, and then I think the audio people signal to Dan Flood, and then Dan Flood does the really weird hand movement that he has technically done one other time, and then immediately we have the shot. And then that takes place in I think 5 seconds. We have one, two, three, like 3 or 4 hand signals in 5 seconds, and then immediately the shot. And when you look at the hand signal that Dan Flood did in the other Turning Point video that's similar to this, when you actually look at the context of what they're talking about, of what Charlie is talking about when he makes that signal, they're talking about hand signals. Charlie Kirk is literally talking about hand signals, and then Dan Flood does that hand signal. So that's the only example I've seen of Dan Flood doing that hand signal is in the context of hand signals. I don't remember exactly what Charlie had said. I think it might have had something to do with football, but that does not convince me that what Dan Flood did immediately before the shot went out was not a hand signal. That was just a normal motion.
yeah, I'm not too sure about the Hunter Kozak signal. I thought Hunter Kozak was the signal that is about to happen. You know, I didn't see any hand gestures of Hunter Kozak. I remember the event where Hunter Kozak comes up and he's holding the mic and they told him not to hold the mic. And then Charlie had the mic on the stand and it was giving feedback. And they told him move the mic away from, I guess, whatever his mic is giving feedback. So the feedback guys on their team, they were trying to get the mic this spacing correct, and then I guess Dan Floyd was Dan Floyd, I forgot his name, but comes to Charlie said move the mic away, and Charlie puts the mic away further away. From there, Hunter Kozak asks a question, and from he asks a question, and then and Charlie says too much, too many times, and then
Right.
he asks a counting not counting gang violence, and then from there, boom, everything goes down. But I would think if that's the case, then Hunter Kozak has to be in on it too. And I for me, I find that hard to believe because he's been in prior Charlie Kirk um events and he was banned before. And if he
Right.
was banned before, he had to infiltrate as a fake Trump supporter to get in to Charlie Kirk events. Um, so if he's in on it, it just that doesn't even make any sense. But then what you have to also explain the alibi by the old man, who was at the
Yeah.
9/11 saying he shot him.
let's
You
stay
gotta explain so
focused.
many variables that okay, no problem.
Okay,
I'm trying to walk down your theory. I'm trying to
sure.
walk down that, okay, it is. If the stage is set, the actors are in place, right? This is basically what you're saying. The stage is set and the actors are in place. If everybody's in on this thing, let's say 20 people is in on this all at the same time, they're all initiating, orchestrating a play, right? This is basically what it is, a live set play, right?
Right.
You have to explain, you would also have to explain how they get into these positions to even support this. If anything, it would make more sense that they're against this, whatever he's standing for. But go ahead, you could convince me.
Okay, so I think that first of all, Hunter Kozak is very suspicious because he comes from the UNF America tour and he's supposed to be banned, and yet he's able to get into the event. Okay, fine. He just slipped in. They didn't really have security. But then he gets chosen as a speaker and he's in the very front row, and they choose him as not the fifth speaker, not the seventh, not the 17th speaker, but as the second speaker. And that strikes me as odd. And then after the shooting takes place, he is allowed to go speak to Erica, his wife. That strikes me as extremely odd. I so that tells me that he's a lot more friendly with TPUSA than they might let on. So that's not necessarily hard evidence, but that tells me that I think we're not being told everything there is to know about his relationship with TPUSA. So I don't find it hard to believe that he might have been in on it to some point. I think he might be sort of a plant, possibly inside of the UNF America tour. Possibly, I don't know for sure. But what I see, and I understand you said there was the hand signals about the microphone is too close and oh sorry, I'll back off the microphone and that kind of stuff. That happens significantly before the hand signals I'm talking about. The hand signals I'm talking about take place within the 5 seconds immediately before the shot. And what we see there is Hunter Kozak touches his glasses looking at Frank Turek, and then Frank Turek turns, points his camera at Charlie Kirk, and I think he signals to the audio people, and then the audio people signal to Dan Flood, I think, or maybe Frank Turk signals to Dan Flood. But the first step is Hunter Kozak touches his glasses, looking at directly at Frank Turek, and then Frank Turek signals to someone else, and then Dan Flood signals to everyone with the hand motion. So it's really important that this is all happening within about 5 seconds immediately before the shot. This isn't the stuff that happened like a minute before, 20 seconds before, 10 seconds before. No, this is pretty much instantly before the shot.
Okay, so I agree with all of that, right? So in the sense that uh Hunter Kozak could be in on it, but I don't in my opinion, I don't think he's in on it in support of a psyop. I think he's more in support of the assassination side. Again, and if you're saying Frank Turk is also in on it, why does his testimonies after the fact or before the or after the fact that Charlie died, that he said Charlie got multiple death threats, that he was aware that Charlie was something bad was going to happen to him. And then Erica Kirk is saying the opposite, saying Charlie's never said nothing like that. I have Charlie's cell phone. Remember, I have a video on my page as well showing that she said the same thing, the opposite. So if everybody's in on this thing, and again, Hunter Kozak also supports him going after the fact, and he's getting popularity and notoriety. He's going on platforms, speaking his side, him being the guy to ask the question. It's more in support of the narrative that he died. It's not in support that, more so that it doesn't show signs of a psyop. It shows signs of that, yes, everybody's in on this assassination, but not necessarily a psyop where
Let
he's
me
faked his
ask you
death.
this.
Because I Yes, sir.
If Charlie was if Charlie feared for his life so much that he was telling people that they are going to kill me, could that possibly motivate him to fake his death if he thought the person who was trying to kill him was powerful enough?
Yes and no. The yes meaning that if he has the tools and means to pull it off, yes, he can fake it. But you have to have so much people that you know support your idea that they will do it. No, being the fact that he's a Christian man and he knows the work he's doing is like the work of Jesus. So that therefore, whatever he's doing in his spirit, he's going forward and he believes in his religion and God, and that God will work itself out. In my theory, he's aware that the work he's doing is more like Jesus. Like he's going to somewhat die for speaking his mind.
Okay, do you think the human response is to walk out into that courtyard to see all of those high roofs and to know people want to kill me? And I'm just going to walk out here anyway without hardly any drone support, without any counter snipers, nobody. You think it's the human response to just go out there fearlessly? Or do you think the human response is to talk to your security people and say, hey, we need drone support here. We need to cover these roofs. Like, what are you guys doing? I think people are going to try to kill me today. We need much better security than this. Even Frank Turek was saying as soon as he walked out there, he was like, holy crap, we have no security. I do not like this place. Do you think the human response is to be paranoid about that to the point of saying, no, I'm not stepping out here. We need to do this safely? Or is the human response to just be careless and reckless and not focus on security at all if the night before you're saying they're going to kill me?
I think the human response is to always, preserve your life. So I do think that's always in the back of his mind. But when you outsource your own protection, I believe he was very naive to believe that his security team handled it. And as far as when the lead security guy, the one with the gray hair and the glasses, I forgot his name. Um, he had text messages showing that he tried his best, that he was going to work with the campus security to protect Charlie as much as he can. So Charlie had to outsource his own protection and a certain belief that he's being somewhat protected. Whether or not these people actually did their job, or they sold him out, or they allowed things to happen, that's secondary to Charlie trying to protect himself. He's outsourced his protection. So if the outsourcing is the sellout, what I mean, he's just there to do his job. He's there to do whatever his mission is. So he's thinking about his mission. He has to, just like Trump. If Trump is out here speaking how he speaks, only if one thing that could kill Trump is just one of the security guys selling him out. So it's just at the end of the day, Trump still has to be a president. So
Sure.
you still have to outsource kind of what you're trying to do. And I think Charlie was kind of naive to that fact. That he feel like he had a family, that the people around him was going to protect him. That as much as he had death threats, he thought that the people around him were confidently going to do their job at their maximal way. I guess how he would probably do it if he was a security team.
Sure.
But his job is to be Charlie Kirk, and I don't think he also knew the influence that he had. Um, because to be honest, I didn't really know much of Charlie Kirk more so until he died.
Hmm.
So I don't even think Charlie knew how big he really was ultimately to even get there yet.
Sure. And let's go into some reasons why someone would fake their death. Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks guy. Do you think it would have benefited Julian Assange to fake his death?
Yes, I do think it would have been benefited, but um, I think it's more beneficial that he's alive.
But his life would probably be a hell of a lot better right now if he had faked his death, right?
I don't think so necessarily because I think again, like when you are trying to expose things and you're trying to make sure a message goes on and lives, you kind of want to somewhat be out there to make sure your message is still being portrayed the right way, right? So the fact that Charlie's no longer here, his message is not being controlled and navigated correctly. Turning Point could turn his message other ways. Then now they're using his message as pro-Israel now that he's not here. So Charlie Kirk's whole thing was his message. So if his message is no longer being narrated and controlled by him anymore, it has no effect anymore. Now Turning Point could turn it back to pro-Israel if they want to, because that's not
Sure.
his stance in the last 2 years.
Sure. So let's keep focused on, for now, on reasons other people might fake their deaths. So, would you agree that it would have benefited Julian Assange's personal life if he had faked his death, just foregoing his professional ambitions?
I think Julian Assange's personal life would have benefited if he never was a whistleblower, period. But once you step into the whistleblowing counter narrative argument, your personal life no longer matters because now you're going against, whatever you want to call a deep state or,
Well, I
people,
wouldn't
powerful people
necessarily
that
agree
have
with
a
that.
narrative.
I wouldn't necessarily agree that your personal life becomes a non-factor once you enter the public life doing these kinds of things. I think your personal life is always the most important thing to you as a human being. So I think that Julian Assange's personal life would have been significantly better if he had faked his death, if he had the means to fake his death, to go into witness protection, say at Valhalla on the island in New Zealand. So let me ask you this now. Would Jeffrey Epstein's life have been significantly better if he had faked his death?
See, so the difference with Jeffrey Epstein is Jeffrey Epstein doesn't have a message. So it doesn't matter what people think about him ultimately. Julian Assange had a message. He was trying to portray a message. Charlie Kirk had a message. So if you have to use an example, it has to be a messenger who wants to be credited on his information. Jeffrey Epstein didn't have any message. That it doesn't matter what we think about Jeffrey Epstein. So him faking a death, sure, his personal life goes back to normal. But again, when you step into a whistleblower state, your personal life is no longer basically doesn't matter because people are going to poke holes into whatever message you have ultimately.
Can I you don't have to answer this honestly, but I want to ask you who are you in your professional life? What do you do? If you don't mind answering.
Yeah, no problem. I sell cell phones for a living. I work for T-Mobile.
Okay, perfect. And if your job selling cell phones,
I do real
you
estate. I
got
do real
in
estate.
and real estate, if you got in with the wrong people in real estate and people were going to try to kill you as a result of your professional job, would you quit that job to save your life, or would you just keep going and hope they don't kill you?
So in the case of trying to make money and survival, sure, I would switch careers. But ultimately, if I stood for something and my character was also had a message behind something, then I would want to make sure that my message is the one that lives on in the way that I made sure I was curating my message. So if you're going to use a point that I'm doing something and I want to get out for my personal sake, versus I'm doing something and I know that is going to come with a lot of backlash regardless because of what I'm saying, then therefore anything I say is going to affect my personal life.
Sure. And what's a really good way to preserve your message? Would a good way be having your wife fill in for you as CEO immediately after you pass, allegedly?
I think Charlie did understand the woman to a degree. I'm not going to say, he knew everything about Erica Kirk, but I think he understood that she was very knowledgeable about the conservative movement and being a Christian woman. So I think he felt that, that she would be able to carry the torch. But when everything she's doing currently, it goes against what he stood for. It just shows like a kind of like a Lyndon B. Johnson JFK moment where you have a vice president, and the minute you get off the stage, Lyndon B. Johnson is basically doing the total opposite of what JFK stood for.
I agree.
So in this case, I don't think they're on the same page. Period.
I agree. I do not think that Erica Kirk is continuing the torch the way Charlie would have wanted, but I think that from Charlie's perspective, before he before the UVU event, he would have reasonably expected her to carry to carry the torch accurately, and I think that's why he did it. But once he fakes his death, he doesn't get to call TPUSA and say, "Hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? No, stop doing this, stop doing that, do it this way." He forfeits all control over Erica and over TPUSA once he makes that decision. So the decisions that have been made after he faked his death are not a reflection of why Charlie would or would not have faked his death. All we can really assess is what his perspective was before 9/10. Does that make sense?
Not necessarily. The reason why it doesn't make sense is because, again, if your whole premise is that my personal life becomes better, I no longer have control of my life. I no longer have control of my vision. I no longer have. I think that would probably destroy him more if you built up such a vision, such a momentum of the way you speak your message, and then now it's the total opposite 180 of what you're doing. I would think I'm kind of more stressed. I don't think that's doing anything for me. And the fact that he has no control over his wife, and then all of a sudden he has no say into what his wife behavior is, like if everybody's in on this thing, right? If everybody's psyop, then you're basically saying he's out of communication with these people. I don't understand how that benefits his personal life. He has no contact with his wife. If he does have contact with his wife, then it's like, okay, babe, why are you saying this? I'm not standing for that. Like he could still talk to her every day, and which would make sense why she's basically like has zero empathy on this grief tour that she's on. It would make sense, right? The psyop would make sense. Like, okay, yeah, he's alive. She knows, so therefore she has to fake it. Fine, we could say that, right? But then ultimately, she's doing a total 180. So it's like he doesn't even have a say than what he was actually standing for. I don't see how that benefits his personal life, even if you go on the ground.
Yeah, I think I agree with that for the most part. Uh, but what I'll say is I think Charlie Kirk is probably in New Zealand right now. He's probably in Valhalla, and that refers to an island that is witness protection in New Zealand. And I think he's doing just fine right now. I do not think that he is too focused on American politics right now. He might be, he very well might be, but I think his mind is on other things right now, and he's in witness protection. That's what I think. But I don't think we're going to agree today on his what his motives could or could not have been. So I really do appreciate your time, sir. Thanks for coming on, and I think we're going to move on to the next caller.
Thank you for having me, man. Keep up the great work, man. I'm always watching your show and just I'm just keeping an open mind. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. And Sean Bender, I'm going to whoops, it disappeared. Maybe it expired. I had Sean Bender in here. I am going to invite to speak. I know these things do expire after a little while. I'm not sure how long that was on there. And wait for Sean Bender. Come in if you would like to. And I'm going to put out a PSA for anyone in the audience right now. If you would like to come on, please come over to Twitter and ask to speak. Hey, Sean, thanks for coming on. What do you believe about the case and why?
Hey, I don't really know what to make of it, because I agree with all of your tests and stuff. It all makes sense. It's just, it's difficult to accept that he would just say F off to everybody, as a Christian, quote unquote. So I don't know. Everything you show is like accurate, and it's hard to comprehend.
Yeah, and we just spent a lot of time talking about that on the last caller. I'm not going to tell you that I have everything figured out on that because most of my work
Yeah,
is focused on the physical evidence, on the physical investigation. So I can speculate on what I think might have happened. I think he probably feared for his life very viscerally, very
I agree.
emotionally, and that
Definitely.
he probably was put into witness protection because of that fear for his life. I think that's probably why this all happened. He would have had to have agreed to it,
Yeah.
but probably under significant duress. I don't know the specifics of what
Right.
exactly happened or why, but I do suspect a certain country in the Middle East. And I know that there are some pretty scary people over there, especially with their influence on our politics. So I think it might have had something to do with that. And
I agree.
that's sort of where I'm at for the foundation of it. I'm not going to tell you that I have it all figured out, because what I like to focus on is the physical evidence. And I think the contextual evidence helps you interpret the physical evidence, and the physical evidence helps you interpret the contextual evidence. But the most work
Yeah.
I've done is on the physical so far. But I think once we
Yeah.
find out, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, how many times have you done that test? It's like ridiculous.
Uh, multiple different versions of it. I've probably done close to 100.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and
And there's nothing to argue with because it's just like right there. I think the acting was not the best from Charlie.
yeah, and part
Uh,
of the acting is he whips up into that pose that's supposed to be or allegedly supposed to be the, um, what is it?
the quarter.
The corticate posturing. Thank you. But he doesn't hold that
Yeah, yeah,
position. From what I understand, and I'm not a doctor, but from what I understand, when people are genuinely in that condition with that level of brain
yeah.
damage, they hold the posture. They don't just sort of fall out of the posture. When he's on the ground, he should still have
Right.
his
And
arms up.
then
Go-
and then once his name runs in and just pushes him over off the chair, right? So it's like nothing to see here. Never mind. You could, I don't know if the pictures are doctored or what, but you can see that like probably CO2 canister on his back and his neck. It does look very, it's like a huge tumor, which would be the prosthetics. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm at with the prosthetic right now. I'm starting to look more into theories where there is no prosthetic, and somehow we're launching a device resembling a neck wound up into the neck in order to get the blood to come out of the neck. And that's because as I look at these really
Uh-huh.
high resolution photos, I just do not see the evidence of the prosthetic. And I've looked at all the Hollywood examples that I can find, the
Yeah,
tutorials, and I just don't see the evidence of it. And I would kind of expect to see some signs of it. So I'm moving away from the prosthetic. And
okay.
so that's where I'm at with that.
But then
And
what was that? What was that huge lump in on his left under his chin thing? I think you know what I'm talking about from
yeah,
that picture.
I think that's just one of the neck
It
muscles.
didn't look right.
It could have been wrong, but I think I did look into that pretty thoroughly, and
Okay.
I think it was just a neck muscle. Let me go. I can't really do it, but I'm doing it to my camera on YouTube
It,
here.
it,
I
it
can't
looks unnatural.
I can't quite get it on my neck right now. I don't think, but I do think it's a neck muscle. But I could be wrong. It could be part of the prosthetic. I don't know.
Okay. So I don't really disagree with you. I'm just like, what? So,
Yeah,
uh,
it's not solved yet. There still are quite a few problems with my demonstrations. The necklace is not flying off exactly the right way, and I don't have a solved method of getting the blood to the op site yet. And there's still a few things in the footage that are kind of wonky that I haven't reproduced yet. But what I feel like
okay.
is I can smell the finish line. I can't see it yet, but I can smell it. I feel like I'm really close. I just need like one or two more hints and I'll
Right.
have it perfect.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you and your work because it's, yeah, I don't know, it's amazing. So,
Well, thank you. I
thank
appreciate
you.
that.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just, you know, it's not good.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. I
So,
appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
thanks for thanks for having me.
All right, bye.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Okay, I think I ended those. And I guess I'll go on mute here for a second for a little while to make sure the technicals are still working and to wait for anyone else to come on and ask to speak. But I guess we're going to go into a brief recess here. We have another request to speak from Everista Payne. Perfect. I believe I approved them. They should be able to come
Hi.
on. Hey, thanks for coming on. What do you believe about the case and why?
Yeah, so what's your main evidence that that points to it being fake?
The energy that comes up out of his shirt originates at the location of the cross pendant, and I don't see how there's any way for that energy to come from that location without Charlie knowing that some type of device was on his chest where it should not have been. That's why.
So that's that singular kind of anomaly is the basis for the idea that it's fake. There's nothing else.
Well, there is other contextual evidence, but the primary smoking gun I see is just that shirt behavior and the fact that, in my opinion, it cannot be reproduced by any lethal means. It's not cavitation. Cavitation forces the neck in exactly the wrong direction. It's not a shaped charge because if it were the exploding microphone, the microphone is just in the wrong spot. And I can't think of any other mechanism that would cause the pendant to fly up the way it does and the shirt to billow out the way it does. But what I can do is I can reproduce it using Hollywood technology, and I can reproduce it pretty closely. And after doing this in the lab over and over and over and over again, and I say lab, it's just my spare room, it's not a lab, but effectively in my lab doing it over and over and over again, I can do it so many different ways and get it so close to what we see on Charlie Kirk that I do not see how you can get the exact same behavior from something that is non-lethal that he does not know about. Because in order for me to do this, to achieve this effect, I have to put hoses on the body that go directly to the cross pendant. And I just don't see how Charlie could possibly not know about that. And so that tells me that he was in on something directly related to the injury, so to speak. And so that makes it very difficult to interpret this event, this evidence, as a lethal event.
If something is uh, reproducible theatrically on camera and it can appear to be the same as a real event, does that mean that it's was theatrically done?
No, it doesn't. Well, so what I'll tell you is I cannot reproduce what cavitation does in my room here. I cannot reproduce what a shaped charge would do in my room here. And I don't see anything on Charlie that I cannot reproduce with means that are not even dangerous. I can do this to myself hundreds of times without getting a single injury. If I can reproduce it perfectly, almost what I see on Charlie, but I cannot reproduce any of the lethal things, that makes me pretty suspicious. Like I cannot reproduce cavitation. I cannot reproduce an explosive. And when I look at what those lethal options actually do, they are markedly different from what we see on Charlie. We don't see shrapnel in the first frame. We do not see the top of the tent blowing out due to a shock wave. The top of the tent is perfectly fine. We do not see the back of the necklace breaking like it would if there was cavitation. We do not see any injuries on Charlie that Hollywood has not faked over and over and over again. What we see on Charlie, Hollywood just does over and over and over again. There's nothing about that wound that convinces me that Charlie was not okay. So I do not see any evidence that I cannot fake, but I would expect to see evidence that I cannot fake if it was real. If he was shot by a 30-06, then his entire neck would have blown out. That would be impossible to fake. If there was actually an explosion under his shirt, then that would be impossible for me to fake with anything other than an explosion. And then you look at the contextual evidence, all of the lies from TPUSA from people who, like Frank Turek, people like Erica Kirk, people like his security team, people like the audio guys, even Hunter Kozak, all of these people appear to be coordinating an effort to do something. And I also see Charlie appear to be coordinating something. He braces himself before it happens. He glances at the audio people immediately before it happens. And kind of lost my train of thought, but we see all of this coordination immediately before the thing happens. So when I look at that coordination, I have to ask, is this something that Charlie is also in on? Or is this something where literally everyone around Charlie, but Charlie, knows what's going on? Or so basically what I'm saying is it more likely that all these people are conspiring to kill Charlie, to murder Charlie, or are they all on the same page? And I interpret it as though they are all on the same page, all working towards a common goal that Charlie is not oblivious to.
including the federal and state governments.
Yes, I think it was coordinated by them at the top level, probably by the US Marshals, because they're the people who do witness protection. And what you have to consider is that Charlie Kirk can just pick up his phone and call the President of the United States. So, and he can pick up the phone and call Bibi Netanyahu. He can pick up the phone and call the Vice President of the United States. He has direct access to some very important people. So I have no trouble believing that he has the ability to get the federal government to help him with this, especially when he helped get the current administration in office.
Which would also include a mock, a fake patsy who also knows that he's being the fake patsy, and the prosecution and defense are all going to put on a show trial with this guy, Tyler, who is acting his role as well.
Yes, I don't have the answer as to who or what Tyler Robinson is yet. I don't know. I this has been something that I know I need to think about that I haven't thought about enough to really give a proper answer on. My guess is he's working for someone. There's some kind of trickery here. I don't think the defense team is necessarily in on it. I don't necessarily think the prosecution or the judge is in on it. But I do think that the information, the evidence they're being fed is controlled, and the narrative is certainly controlled. But I'm not willing to say whether or not this person in the courtroom is in on it, whether that person in the courtroom is in on it. But I do think that, of course, Tyler Robinson for sure knows what did or did not happen, unless it was some kind of really weird, I forget what it's called, but the psychological operation. It's on the
MK
life
Ultra.
MK Ultra, thank you. Unless it's something like that, which I don't really think it is, then I fully expect that Tyler Robinson is in on it, but that's the only person in the courtroom that I can really speculate on.
So you'll concede that one of your main points is there's nothing that you've seen in the videos of his neutralization that Hollywood can't reproduce, right?
Correct.
But you'd also concede, would you not, that Hollywood's in the business of reproducing things that are real?
They can reproduce things. Okay. Let's categorize different things that
I mean,
Hollywood
well,
can
let
fake.
me let me put it a different way, just to stay focused. Let me put it another way. What would be an example of something that Hollywood would not be able to reproduce that would show you that it was more real? Given, by the way, that you're all of what you're viewing is through a screen anyway, right? So it's a two-dimensional event.
Well,
What would be an example of of something that you would see that you'd say, this made it real to me?
well, we have to consider the live audience and the uncontrolled phones from just live audience members who just showed up on campus without any documentation whatsoever. So that's one thing I have to
That's
consider
fine.
when I answer the question. Hollywood
Okay.
is not live theater. Right now, Hollywood, they can fake a 30-06 neck wound in film where the neck just explodes. They can fake that with CGI and I guess maybe with some really good gags where you have really restricted visual access to the neck, but they cannot fake, like if you go to Broadway, you cannot fake a 30-06 neck wound. That is impossible to fake unless you have hologram technology, and I definitely do not believe in the hologram stuff for this case. That would be impossible to fake. If Charlie Kirk had received a 30-06 neck wound that actually looked like a 30-06 neck wound, and his neck basically exploded because that's what a 30-06 does to the neck, then I would absolutely concede that that is an unsurvivable injury that cannot be faked.
Right. Okay. So something that's just orders of magnitude more gory, like a quasi decapitation or a huge hole being blown, like where you can see through it, or like his the top of his skull being blown off or something,
Right. And
where there's like a negative space there or something.
exactly. And the reason I'm not convinced by this particular neck wound is because I can go on Stan Winston's School of Character Arts.com and I can take not just one course, one 4-hour course, but two multiple hour courses on exactly how to reproduce that exact same thing that we saw in Charlie. They usually do slits of the throat, but this one is just a hole in the throat. There's not
Right.
there's
But
multiple courses on how to do this exact one, which tells me that this is such a common gag in Hollywood that they do it every day. So that's why I'm not convinced by it.
right. But that doesn't mean that it is that though. I mean,
Correct.
just
That's
because.
true.
Right. Okay. And how many assassinations that are real have you seen?
Personally,
Personally, like, or on video or whatever.
I guess JFK is one of them, but the footage of that is highly controversial because the one film that everyone can see right now was allegedly edited by the CIA. So there's that one, but that's not very reliable. Other assassinations, I can't think of any off the top of my head. So if you're saying that I don't have a good reference point, you would be correct.
And how many fake assassinations have you seen?
Again, I don't have a good reference point there. I think Jeffrey Epstein might have faked his death. I think MLK is a bit suspicious, but I do not have direct access to any faked assassinations.
So there's really you have no personal basis to discern between something being fake and real death, right?
I have a lot of examples in Hollywood where we are faking death not in real life, but you're correct. I do not have a wealth of examples to look at in real life that would tell me, okay, this is the context and this is the physical evidence to associate with fake, and this is the physical evidence and context to associate with a real assassination. You're correct. I do not have that example pool.
Okay, I have two more things, and I'll hand it back to you. You got quickly into the contextual points, which I absolutely agree with you actually, but on the one of how everyone's behaving afterwards and the and like the previous speaker was saying, um, if and yesterday you said many times before that the certain country in the Middle East wanted him dead, right? So this is the ostensible motivation for him to fake his own death, to get away from this Middle East country that wanted him dead because he couldn't support their thing anymore, right? I mean, is that kind of a fair summary of what your kind of thumbnail sketch of his possible motivation is at this moment, as far as you can see?
Agree. And that's because I look at the thing that changed that appears to be the most dangerous thing. And courtesy of Candace Owens, we see that he very recently changed his mind on that country, and that country does have a tendency to be scary. And so I see that's what changed, and those people are pretty scary. So that's why I think it's that certain country that is my foundation for what I think might have happened.
Fair enough. So I have two questions that kind of fork off of that. Does that motivation not equally support the scenario that that country actually took him out as much as it does that he took himself out?
It does, contextually,
Mm.
if you just look at that. But if that were the case, I would not expect TPUSA to also be acting in kind. If
Now,
I can elaborate,
go.
clarify,
No.
I would not expect the FBI to be acting strange. I would not expect Frank Turek to be acting strange, the audio people to be acting strange, the people in the crowd, some of them to be acting strange. I would not expect this level of coordination if it was truly an overseas enemy that was actually doing this.
And why is that?
Because you could say that all those people were aligned with that certain country, but I think that's much more difficult to sell than these are Charlie's dudes. They're all on the same team, and they're going to try to save his life, not kill him.
So you think the FBI is naturally on Charlie's team?
I think the mission of the FBI in the vast majority of cases is to protect the lives of US citizens.
Can you give me an example in the last 35 years where the FBI has done that?
That's just my opinion. Uh, I'm not particularly knowledgeable on specific cases
Or
of the
in
FBI.
all the history of the FBI? You can expand it all the way back to the 20s or whatever.
I'll give you an
Can you give me
example.
one example?
I'll give you a personal example of what I guess you can say is my experience, my personal experience with the FBI. This is a very small example, but this is what I have. I worked at a hotel once as a maintenance guy, and the GM that I started with, he quit, and then we got a new GM. The new GM, general manager, was not a great dude. He very shady dude. And after a couple weeks, I found out that he had a very significant criminal history where he was engaged in fraud, embezzlement, this what is it called? Extortion and bribery schemes only 1 year prior. And that was courtesy of the FBI. And that alerted me to the fact that, okay, this dude is actually shady. And that empowered me to quit that job as a result. So, what he had done, allegedly, at least according to the US DOJ press briefing that was released on him with his name on it, he was is basically an unfair contract between his company and a government agency. He was getting a sweetheart deal basically for extra money when the other contractors who bid probably had better bids. But he sort of extorted millions of dollars from a public institution, and that's what he did. And the FBI investigated that, and I would say I would assume they did a very good job, and that is my personal image of what the FBI is supposed to do. So that's my only example from personal experience.
Right. But I think that's probably fair enough. But there's, countervailing arguments of what Ruby Ridge, Waco, 9/11, MLK, uh, you know, Epstein. on and on and on. I mean, it's almost like the small things sometimes, the US mail gets delivered, but at the same time, they're uh, running Guantanamo Bay and, you know, Abu Ghraib in Iraq and, bombing innocent kids all over the
Right.
world.
There's
So,
an
I mean, it's,
argument on both sides for sure.
so anyway, yeah, right. Getting two things, then I'll let you go. If they were getting away from Israel because he had taken a turn against Israel, how do you explain Erica Kirk's, uh, you know, and the entire TPUSA's platform hard right turn back into the arms of Israel and Ben Shapiro and
I think they're just stupid.
supporters,
I think they're just stupid.
right? But would you agree that that's contextually? Would you concede that that's a huge that it would support your point more if they continued to take the turn that Charlie had taken away from supporting this level of Zionism.
Well,
Wouldn't you agree that what they've done
not
now
necessarily.
looks more like that the middle? You wouldn't concede that, okay?
Not necessarily, and here's
Why?
why. Because that attitude towards those certain people forced Charlie to have to fake his death in this scenario. So these people are extremely powerful, and so you want to appease them if this is true. Because they just took out your leader, even if they didn't actually do it physically, they effectively just took out your leader. So they're very powerful, and so that's why you would continue to sort of appease them within this context.
Hmm. Well, I think it's internally contradictory because all those guys that you said are his boys, from Turek to Mikey to whatever, they're all going to go in because Charlie has a principal point that's got him to hot water, which parenthetically could be instantly solved if he just stopped saying that he's against the bombing in Gaza. If he just said, "That's okay, I support it still, it's great," if he just took the Ben Shapiro line, he wouldn't have to go into hiding. But you're saying that all those people conspired to fake his death so that he could get out of this proverbial hot seat, but then so that they could immediately live in the same fear that Charlie was living in and just be his surrogate in fearing for their life, and then let the machine be taken over to more hardcore Zionism than predated Charlie's fake death?
I'm not going, I don't know all of the details on what TPUSA is or is not doing. I have not thought too much about this. I'm far more focused on the physical evidence. I'm not even convinced that he's still alive. What I'm
I know,
focused
but you
on,
introduced it. You introduced
I
it, and
have, but
right. Okay.
I'll concede that there is some
I know, but
contradictions here.
I'm playing I'm just saying you brought this up, you
Sure.
know.
Yeah, I'll concede that there are
Okay.
contradictions here.
Th-
I'm not sure what those contradictions
Okay.
may or may not necessarily indicate, and I've not looked into the nitty gritty on what TPUSA is currently doing with respect to
Okay.
Israel. So I'll concede that, and I should do some more research on it. And we do have
Yeah.
some other callers
Okay.
here, so I
That's fine.
appreciate your time,
Well,
sir. Thanks for coming
yeah.
on.
Oh, I have one last. Can I have
Sure,
one
go
last
ahead.
thing? What if the pendant slash chain had some embedded plastique, or yeah, what if the pendant or chain was also rigged with some micro plastique?
Do you mean microplastic,
You
or
know,
is that some word that I don't know?
micro that
So if it was sort of like a
plastic,
rocket
meaning the explosive, the
explosive,
non-incendiary.
sure. If that were the case, if it had sort of like a rocket motor in the bottom of it or something, I would expect to see exhaust moving in the opposite direction of its travel. I would expect to see the bottom of the shirt move down and then the top of the shirt move up. So that, but I only see the shirt moving up. That tells me
No, not a rocket motor, just like Yeah, not a rocket motor, just explosive. I mean, it doesn't have to be directional like that.
Well, the shirt is fine, right?
Just be explosive.
The shirt is fine though, right?
There's non-incendiary explosive, you know. The shirt's fine, but what does that mean?
Well, the
I
pendant
mean,
is
have you seen the
directly up
pager
against.
explosions? Have
I
you seen
have,
all the record?
yeah. But I would expect the shirt to be heavily damaged
And
if
and
that
and
had blown up.
it just doesn't make sense that they would even mess with the pendant with a CO2 hose. I mean, I think it's more likely that there's some explosive. But anyway, thanks, Jordan. I love your work. Keep it up, and thanks for having me on.
All right, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your time. Bye. All right, we have, I think, Scrummy Wummy now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jordan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks for coming on. What do you think? What do you believe about the case and why?
So I am pausing my judgment on it. There's so many questions, there's so many shady things. There's obviously something wrong here. The issue that I have with analyzing the footage, and I admire your enthusiasm and the lengths to which you are going to try and simulate things. It's really fascinating. But to me, the footage is a kind of Rorschach test, isn't it fair to say? You know, it's just so inconvenient. There's so many inconvenient things, like the shirt going up over the entry wound before we get to see it. I mean, there just doesn't seem to be. Obviously, it's not this. I'm English, so I know bugger all about firearms, but it's obviously not this weapon that the FBI is saying it is.
Right.
So why are they saying that? If it was, my issue is, and it is a little bit tangential because I know that your subject is the evidence there of it, but my issue is, if it was faked, why did they get so much wrong? Why didn't they come up with a more appropriate weapon? Why didn't they ensure that they had a procedure around the the emergency medical people around him that could have easily also been in on it if that's the proposal? Why? I don't understand. If they can sort somebody out to cover for them when they take them to this hospital, why couldn't they have sorted someone out at the closest hospital they should have taken them to? What's your impression about why some of those things are going wrong?
How many movies have you seen?
Oh, well, how many movies do you think I've seen? I've seen a whole lot of movies. Go on.
Okay. So if you were to pick any one random movie where they had a lot of special effects, do you think you could go frame by frame in those movies and find all kinds of mistakes in the special effects?
Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
Yeah, so they have a lot of experience doing these kinds of trickery things in film, but I would argue that they don't have hardly any experience at all doing these kinds of fakery things in real life. So they are inexperienced at doing this. Every single person involved with this has probably only done this once. They have no experience. It is all being done for the very first time. They have no trial and error. This is the only time they've ever done it. And so I would say this was a very valiant effort given the theory. It's not perfect. There were some mistakes that were made, and we can sort of Monday morning quarterback it and find all the mistakes in retrospect, in hindsight. But from their perspective, as people who have never done this before, this is a very complicated operation, and you cannot anticipate every single little thing that the entire internet is going to find months later. So I think it's due to lack of inexperience.
So, y- what? What's your understanding of the term false flag terrorism?
I don't necessarily. Okay, there's two different things here. There's Charlie Kirk's intent of this operation, which was to save his life, which was to not die, a very human, visceral, emotional um, desire as the reason this happened. And then I think there is how it was manipulated by other people after it happened. And I think it can be sort of manipulated in a sort of false flaggy way by other people. But I think the initial intent by Charlie and the initial intent by the people who conducted it were to save their dude.
I mean, I'd like to think so. It's just that the behaviour of everyone that was surrounding him doesn't really seem to add up to that.
How so? What
Well, I suppose that it doesn't add up to anything really, does it? But you're talking about motives. My question would be, you're suggesting that he faked it in order to remove himself from the world stage so that he's safe from an actual assassination. Is that correct?
That is my leading suspicion, yes.
So why would they? And my follow-up question, that sort of begs the question: why would they do it on this kind of venue? Surely they could just set up something that was much more secluded. There's far less, camera coverage, and they would be able to control the situation better.
Because if God wants to kill you, you need to do a really good job of convincing God that you're dead.
What do you mean by God?
God
I've
is
lost
a
you.
stand-in for just a very powerful person who's not going to just read a headline of, oh, Charlie Kirk died in a car accident last night, and then stop hunting you. Nope, this person is very powerful. They are not trusting. They want to kill you. They're going to kill you. And you can't just wake up one morning and say, oh, he died in a plane crash, or oh, he died in his sleep. They're going to still come after you until they know for sure you're dead. So you fake your death in a way that is so violent and public that obviously they're going to believe that you're dead because you can see the death in so many different camera angles, and all of the talk is going to be about what exactly happened to kill you, and none of the people online are going to be questioning it. That's how you get God to stop, God or just fill in the blank very powerful person to stop hunting you.
Yeah, because you frightened me there a little bit with the kind of allegory between God and a certain country in the Middle East, as the last chap said.
Sure, let's
But
take out God and
the
say
issue
Hitler.
being, how
Let's say Hitler wants
yeah.
to kill you.
So let's say a powerful authority. So how culpable do you feel in the pursuit of trying to prove that he faked his death then, if that means by necessity the powerful authority would now be pursuing him?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch which part of that was the question. Can you restate?
Yeah, you said that you felt that the main necessity for it being faked in the venue and the situation that it was would be to create a spectacle, a big lie that would not be challenged by the people that the death was trying to mislead. And because if they were to think that he was still alive, then they would still come after him in some way, presuming that they don't know everything that's going on in Valhalla, which I fully think that Israel and the USA cooperate on everything. But so my question to you was, how culpable do you feel in the pursuit of proving that he's still alive, given that the result of that may be that he is now pursued?
That's a really complicated question that I don't know the answer to. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I'm not convinced that he's alive. I think he's alive. I think that's what the evidence is telling me, and I want to pursue it. I think we deserve to know the truth. But if it's good, but like the reason I'm not being quiet about it is because I don't know. I want to know. I want to find out, and I want to talk about it. I want to solve this puzzle. It's a puzzle. I have this puzzle in front of me. I have to solve it. And if I get a phone call that tells me whatever, like just shut up, stop talking about this. This is really important from someone who I would trust to know about these things, then I will shut up. But to me, it's not confirmed. I'm still trying to solve the puzzle, but there definitely is a dilemma there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, again, I really sort of respect to exploring it. But I do think that in the space in which we're all in now, the little segment that they've got us all sectioned off into, where we're watching Candice and we're watching all these other people, I think there's too much focus on us having to work out what's happened, rather than, and I believe that's a reaction to the fact that we are quite powerless around this. But accepting that the level of corruption in society, and it's not just the level of corruption like at government. Everyone will go, yeah, get government's corrupt, yeah, business is corrupt. It's the people around us that can be corrupted as well. Our friends, Charlie's buddies. Now, you're not telling me that smiling Mikey, amazing Mikey McCoy, grinning his tits off every day since the frigging murder, is his bro. I mean, he's not even acting. He's not even trying to put on a good, impression that these people are just carrying on, and they're carrying on in a completely different direction to what he was saying. Like the chap before pointed out, TP USA has gone Zionist again.
Sure. So we're gonna go.
And
what I'll say to that real fast, and then we're gonna go to the next caller, is I think there's there's two different things going on here. There's Charlie Kirk's initial intent in doing this operation, and then there's how it's being manipulated by other people after the fact. So I do believe that there's some disconnect there, but I think it's just due to the different people with different intent at different points in the narrative. Do you have anything you want to say at the very end of this?
Yeah, one last thing. Why I'm leaning away from the faked, I'm still open-minded to it, but I'm leaning away from the faked death is because Charlie was a man of principle. He gave a very convincing portrayal of a man of principle, very consistent, and I'm not sure that he, lying is a sin. And I'm not sure that he would have wanted to portray a lie on that level. He was willing to put, himself on the line when it came to talking about a certain country in the Middle East. So why wouldn't he continue with that? That's just my thoughts. Thanks. It's been good to talk to you, Jordan. Take care.
Thank you, sir, for coming on. I appreciate your time. Bye. All right, and now we have Arwen Tranholt. I think that's the lady in Lord of the Rings, I think. I think that's the right spelling. Hey, can you come on?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thanks for coming on. What do you believe about the case and why?
Hi. So I think that it's remarkable everything that I've heard so far, and forgive me if I'm not up to date with all the arguments that you all have had. Um, but it's remarkable that, in my opinion, everything, just nearly everything that has been said by nearly everyone is likely possible, probable. I think that I I I am totally behind the fake death theory that you're proposing, and but also I'm not behind him being alive. I think that it's likely that a fear campaign was launched, and Charlie was convinced that he was in imminent danger and convinced to temporarily disappear via a fake death later to join his family, because I can't get behind him leaving his family. However, if we look at false flag false flag operations in the past, psyop operations, for instance, 9/11, I believe there was a exercise operation going on at the same time involving the jets that couldn't be deployed at the time because they were in the middle of an exercise that mimicked what was happening. That's just kind of like a parallel, and I think that the way that they were able, I think many parties, many factions were cooperated. Some of them under the guise that it was for Charlie's best interest and it was temporary and that they were helping him. Others, at the top, would have known that they were actually going to actually kill him and that he actually is gone, and that makes the whole operation so much easier, and it lends plausible deniability. So in essence, it was some- it was a psyop gone wrong,
What
allegedly.
makes you think, or I don't want to say like what makes you think, but what evidence suggests to you that there was a faked death that wasn't successful but actually went wrong?
Well, a fake death that actually resulted in an actual death, kind of like,
Right,
the when you're on set and the stage prop has a real bullet in it,
right.
allegedly.
Okay,
But the controllers at the top, because it doesn't make sense that he there's so many. Yeah, so of course they wanted him dead, but you know it's much easier if he's
hold on.
cooperating and you've got all of these people who are paid off cooperating.
Who is they? Who wanted him dead?
And then once it goes wrong, well, who are all the different parties that would have had to have been involved or in the know in order for any of this to have happened, in order for him to have faked his death, so many players would have had to have been involved,
Why would they want him dead?
right? I mean, I can't even. Well, I mean, he was well, he certainly was posing himself as a potential threat to some serious powers that be,
Are they
I guess you
connected
might say,
to
however you want to
the
term that,
people around Charlie that
when he
day?
started to change. I would say that, I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I think we have some lag here, but I'm asking you the powers that be, I guess
Hello?
we're talking about the people in the
Yeah,
Middle East. Do they control the people around Charlie that day?
possibly.
Okay. Um, so you talked about,
Possibly. I think they would, they could have recruited them.
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I believe that the people who cared about Charlie would have been recruited under the guise that they were helping him to escape and survive, to put it in simple terms. And but the higher you go, for instance, donors, that he had voiced potentially he had voiced that he was considering going a different direction, no longer supporting, you know, the ideas of his donors. So, if you go up the pyramid to the people at the top, probably would have approached him and said, "Hey, you know, you're in danger and we want to protect you and we're going to have to do it like this." So everybody's on board, right? So once this all happens after the fact, and something went wrong and it was a stray bullet, whatever the case may be, I'm sure it would be much simpler to employ technology that would cover all of the anomalies with the footage and the microphone, all those things, because I don't know, they could have, with Charlie's help, I think that a lot of those questions could be answered if he was helping, but they were like, "Oh yeah, this is going to work like this," and, "Oh, oops, it actually killed you." But
Sure.
once that
Let's go ahead and
happens,
talk about the
the
gun.
people who cared about him, I don't know a lot about the gun, but it seems like someone could have said, "Hey, here's our tech person that's going to set this all up for you to fake your death. And we're going to have this device here, and we're going to have whatever, a gunman over there, or
Hello.
whatever the case may be."
Sorry, it's kind
You
of
have
hard to
really need two
politely
connecting
interrupt.
weapons.
It's kind of hard to politely interrupt
Sorry.
when we have this much delay. I wanted to ask you what you said, that there was, like, you had the example of Hollywood where you have a fake gun, sort of like in the case of the Rust shooting, on where the one actor, I forget his name, shot
Exactly.
the DOP. What I want to ask you is, in this case,
Correct.
what was the weapon or the thing that was not supposed to go off that did go off, that changed everything, so that the faked death accidentally, or in quotes accidentally, uh, led to an actual death? What was the thing that broke, so to speak?
Well, I'm not suggesting that it was an actual accident. I'm suggesting that the entire operation was presented to Charlie and the people around him who actually cared about him, who thought it was going to be a fake death. That the whole operation was presented as one thing when it was actually a different technique they were
Sure,
using,
but
and
let's talk
they
about the
only had to
specific evidence
set it up to appear that way.
on
Oh, I'm sorry, I
what.
haven't thought it that far through it.
Sure. So you don't know which physical device would have led to his physical death?
No, I haven't thought through that, but I don't think it would be that difficult. But I also think that once this took place, the people who would never have participated in the death of Charlie, at that point possibly could have been pressured or fearful of stepping forward because they felt they were actually at that point involved in his actual death. So you almost have a sealed deal. Who's going to come forward and talk about that if they had originally participated in a allegedly fake death
How do we
that
get
ended up
from
being murder?
how do we get from everyone is here today to do a Hollywood stunt where we're going to trick the world into thinking that Charlie Kirk died? How do we get from that to first degree capital murder?
Well, there would have had to be those in the know and those who weren't in the know, for one thing, right?
So the mind space you have to
So you
be
have a lot
in
of participants,
order to
obviously.
help your buddy fake his death is extremely different from the mind space you would have to be in to kill your buddy. So I'm asking, how do we have like, in retrospect, it's really easy to look at
Correct.
it and think, okay, maybe they wanted to kill him, maybe they didn't want to kill him. But what I'm looking at is, if I'm under that tent with Charlie if I'm with him that day, the contrast, the variance between my mindset of I'm here to help my friend to save his life, between that and I'm here to literally kill my friend today. When I wake up that morning, I'm in either of those two camps. I'm either my same normal self trying to save my buddy, or I'm literally
Correct.
trying to murder him. I just don't understand why we are getting what evidence is leading us to the conclusion that the faked death did not work and it was actually turned into a real death. Like, how did we get such a dramatic change?
Okay, let me clarify. I do not believe that anyone involved went in thinking they were helping and changed their morals or their mind in the middle of the process. I believe that there were controllers who wanted him dead and knew from the beginning that they were setting the whole thing up to lure Charlie into participating unknowingly in his own murder. And
Okay,
those
let me
who
ask you this.
believed what Charlie believed, okay.
How do we tell the difference between a faked death that was actually a faked death and a faked death that was actually turned into a weapon?
Uh, Good question. I don't know. It's just a theory.
Yeah, that's my issue with it. The evidence that I see on the ground tells me that it was faked because of the energy that emanates from the cross pendant. I don't think it's possible for that energy to behave that way without Charlie knowing about it after having done all these experiments here in basically a lab. So I think the physical evidence is pointing to a faked death, and I'm just struggling to use any
So
physical
could you
evidence.
just
Go ahead.
briefly could you briefly explain the pendant? Like, okay, so what is your theory with the weapon? I heard you speaking of a prosthetic. Um, I'm not sure I understand how the pendant plays into it. I do know that people have been discussing that, but I don't know what keeps popping into my mind, knowing nothing about weaponry, is heat-seeking missiles. Isn't there some? I mean, I would think it would be two connecting. Um, uh, I don't know. I don't know what happened with the necklace. So,
I don't think any heat sinking missiles were used. I don't see any evidence of that. But I will
well, no,
go.
I mean, I mean, just the concept. The concept. No.
Were you going to continue?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear the last part that you said. I think it lagged.
I
Did
think
you want to take the next caller?
no. I'll go into my theory real fast since you asked about it. I'll go into that real fast, and I actually
Okay,
don't
great.
have. Oh, I do have another caller. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I do have another caller, but I can go over my theory real fast. I'll give you the SparkNotes version of it, and then you can respond to that if you wish. And then we'll go on to the next
Thank you.
caller. My theory is that it was a Hollywood gag, and the reason the shirt behavior was really weird and the pendant
Okay.
behavior was really weird was because they had to change the way they do it for film to make it work in basically live theater. And you seem rushed, so that's where I'll leave it right there. But thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I wasn't rushed. My dogs are crazy, but I appreciate you taking my call and listening to my theory. And I support you. And yet, I believe my argument is that there's more to it, which I think the theory I presented kind of covers almost all the bases. But thank you for your time
All right. Thanks so
and
much
keep
for
doing what
coming
you're
on.
doing.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. And now I have Rudd Rudak who would like to speak. I just approved you to speak, and we are waiting for you to come in. I think you're in. Hey, thanks for coming on. What do you believe about the case and why? If you're speaking, I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks for coming on. What do you believe about the case
Okay,
and why?
perfect. I actually just found your channel and I've been watching all your videos and it's amazing work you do. I actually have a question. I posted a picture in the chat or the comment section. I wanted to see your take on it, hear your take on it. I don't know if you've seen it before or not, but there's something like some kind of a band-aid on his shoulder, and I haven't been able to find anybody talking about it.
Yes, we've talked about that quite a bit, at least I have. What makes you, where do you see a band-aid?
I enhanced the picture to show it. It's right under his chain, and there's two. Well, there's one band-aid in the back, and then in the front section, it looks like there's some kind of a, like artificial skin or silicone thing, whatever, with flaps on it. Did you see my picture in the comments?
Yes, ma'am, I'm looking at it right now. What's in between them?
I think that's just the collarbone,
Yeah, I think that's a tendon
or maybe
or something. I don't know the
yeah,
technical medical term
yeah.
for it. I think that's a tendon, and I'm struggling to see where the tape is. Why do we think that's tape?
Well, that's exactly what you said. It's right in between. So that tendon or whatever that is in between. So right behind that is this rectangular band-aid, it looks like. You can see the line and it has curved edges. And then right before it, it has like, I don't know, a dumb example, but have you ever made dumplings where you like press on the dough around it with a fork
I have
to close
not,
it
but I
up?
can
It looks
envision it.
like, yeah, it looks like it has ridges. I mean, skin doesn't do that. And if you look at it, there's the ridges right under the chain. It's the ridges, and then all the way at the end there's this weird round dot, which I mean it could be a mole, but it's like right on the band-aid. I've heard people talk about the piece in the back, the band-aid in the back, but I've never heard anybody talk about the front area.
Sure. I'm not convinced the back part is a band-aid. I think it's
And
just
if you
his normal
follow the
skin.
ridges of his skin,
And I see what you're saying about the front part as well. What is your explanation as
but
to what
really
that
it's a
is?
different color. It's a different,
I think it could just be the lighting.
I mean, if it's not anything medical, then it has to be some. No, I don't
No.
think that's lighting.
Okay.
I could. I mean, it has clear edges,
Where are the edges?
and the skin wouldn't be doing. Maybe I can post another picture.
Because
I enhanced one that was really, really enhanced.
the other issue I have with it is why would there be a band-aid on his neck right there?
I don't know.
So
That's for you guys experts to figure out.
sure, I understand. The course that I took, and you can take as well if you wish, if you wanted to, on Stan Winston's School of Character Arts, they teach you how to do the neck prosthetics that we're talking about, and they're not taped on, they're glued on. So you have this prosthetic that's sort of rubbery, and you glue it on the bottom, and you apply it on the skin. So when you're looking for a prosthetic, you look for the border between the prosthetic and the real skin. It's sort of a feathered edge, but you do not look for tape. You use tape underneath the prosthetic for the blood bladder and
Right.
to perhaps position not on the surface of the prosthetic itself. So that's another reason why I question why we would be seeing tape right there.
Well, that was the reason that it looks suspicious to me, because the front part of it looks like it's silicone, like skin, like fake skin, and they tried to blend it into his real skin, but the back part looks like the band-aid, like skin color band-aid to hold something in place, kind of a thing. And I mean, the ridges, I posted another picture, it's even more enhanced, but it looks really bad. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the ridges are so clear, the band-aid, the color is even different. And if you look at his skin, I mean, it has the natural wrinkles and bumps and whatnot, and it stops right where the band-aid area is. It stops, and the beginning, the front part of it, the lines where, let's say, in my example with the fork, if you press down, those don't even align. I mean, your skin doesn't do that.
Sure, I would have to look into it some more. The the looking I have done into it has not convinced me, but it certainly does warrant more investigation, I think. Maybe the skin doesn't wrinkle. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Into it. And I'm now looking at the one with the contrast increased. And I do see the little circle there and what could be a little line right there and the wrinkles. It does look a little bit weird. I'll give you that for sure. And according to my theory, there would be some shenanigans in
Yeah,
that
under
general
that
area.
circle, you could see. Yeah, and under that circle, it looks like that flap is coming off. You know how like Band-Aid doesn't stick well, that kind of a thing. It
Yeah.
looks like there's a flap, and nothing makes sense as far as your skin. It wouldn't do that in any situation.
Yeah, I can definitely see your perspective there for sure. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
That's it. Thank you.
All
Glad
right.
you're doing this. Keep it up.
Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming
All
on.
right. Thanks.
All right, bye. Okay.
Bye.
I'm going to we don't have any other requests to speak right now. So I'm going to take a brief break until someone else requests to speak. And we'll come back once that happens. And I'm going to check the chat. I will go ahead and look at the YouTube chat for a few minutes here and read some of the comments there. I think people are talking to each other here a lot, so it's going to be tricky to find one that's to me. Yeah, people on YouTube, if you want to come talk, you click the link. I'll put it back in the chat here. I just posted the link in the chat. You go to that link. If you have an X or Twitter account, you can click that link and then press, I think it's a purple button, in order to request to speak. And then preferably you'll do that if you disagree with me on the case. If you believe in the exploding microphone theory or in the 30-06 narrative or anything that's not my theory, I want to talk to you. Let's discuss about the reasons you have for believing what you believe. And there's a lot of people talking to each other, so I'm going to try to find one that's more addressed to me that isn't part of a larger conversation. As Bender says, I felt like there was something instantly missing from my life spiritually. Okay. Wouldn't consider this a spiritual endeavor, but okay. The questions the callers are asking sound like they're scripted for their own podcasting. I wouldn't necessarily say so. Apparently, some people thought that one of the last callers was Gary from Paramount Tactical. I didn't pick up on that when I was talking to him. He might have been. I don't know. That'd be pretty cool if it was, I think. But I don't think so. But I'll have to listen to it again and compare voices and see. But that would have been pretty interesting if it was. Yeah, I think this Lady Wolverine says, yeah, I think this live will naturally draw in podcasters. What's shady is when they come in and don't identify themselves. I've listened to Gary a lot, so I feel like I know his voice, so I feel like I should have picked up on that if it was him. So, but I did not, so I'll have to listen to that later. Rosa Diana Rada says, I think not everyone knew he faked his death. I believe Erica didn't know, only the security team did. I think he finally got to understand that TPUSA was going down with or without him. I think most of them were in on it because Erica has to go to the casket and do that really fake video when she has to do all the acting. So I think Erica definitely has to be in on it, at least at the later stages, not necessarily beforehand. And yeah, some people are saying that my profile is hard to find on Twitter, on X. I think that might be because I recently changed my handle. and maybe they just haven't updated their cache yet. That might be why, possibly, or it could be just because X is super buggy, which is also almost certainly the case. The callers, Diana Doyle says the callers are really interested in what you're doing. They seem almost worried you're onto something. When I heard Gary allegedly, I knew this is big because he asked way too many questions. Yeah, I don't know if it was Gary. Gary said on his live, so actual Gary, said on his live about Candace 12 days ago he didn't think the boy was Charlie's, but the girl was his kid. It was his opinion. He said kind of weird he said it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch Gary anymore. I did at the beginning of the case because he was a lot more reasonable back then, but ever since then he's kind of gone off the rails about Candace. All I hear from him is about Candace, and I just really don't care what his opinion on it is anymore because it's nothing but hatred towards Candace, and that's not productive. And I have my own thoughts about Candace these days. I do not think that she's really helping very much. I think she's kind of content farming. So I have not been watching Candace recently. Also, partly because I've been doing all of this work, and that kind of prevents me from having time to sit down and listen to like a 30, 60-minute podcast every day. But I don't think it's productive to use basically the entire platform you have just to hate on one specific person who, in my opinion, is doing it in good faith. You can disagree with her all day long, but I don't think she's a bad person doing it for bad reasons. Charlie did his best and they betrayed him. He went in with good faith. He didn't lie. They turned the story around and he needed to get out. You just gave the reason why he would. Okay. Okay. Let's go check to see if we have any more callers. We do not. Okay. I will post it in the chat again real fast. And we're going to go hopefully to 7 o'clock, 7 p.m., another 40 minutes or so. But if I don't get any callers, we'll probably call it at 6:25, 7 minutes. But I feel like this was a pretty good stream so far. I would not be sad if it ended here. His hands seemed extremely fake in the casket, too small relative to Erica's. I agree. Color was extremely off. I think the color was explained by the mortician YouTuber, so I don't think the color is necessarily problematic, and that's just going off her experience. But the size difference was pretty damning. Erica would have to be in on exactly. Everyone is in their own lane using their gifts. I follow the truth only. Yeah, everyone, like my biggest thing, I don't want to talk about the motive or the politics of it as much as we kind of are on here. A lot of the people I'm debating on here are focusing on the motive, which perfectly makes sense because you do need to understand it emotionally in order to get behind the physical evidence. But what I prefer to focus on is the physical evidence because that's more my lane, because I'm reproducing it here. That's what I can actually demonstrate to be true. I cannot demonstrate a motive to be true unless I do a lot of work on the psychology of it, sort of like I did with the Chris Watts case like a couple years ago. But that takes a lot of work in order to properly evaluate the psychology of these things. So maybe in a year or so, I will come back and focus more on the psychology, but right now I'm just trying to figure out the physics of what happened. Did Trigger Smart get the call? I don't think so. I'm not understanding why he believes the exploding microphone theory as he seems to. I think the physics of the exploding microphone is absolutely absurd, and I have not heard it argued why it's not absurd. And I hope that John Bray does his test, does his demonstration to demonstrate that his theory can actually be true. But I think that when he does his test, one half of the shirt is going to end up in California. The right half of the shirt is going to end up in New York City. And the center of it is going to be shredded to bits. Whether it's a shape charge or not, I don't care. So that's why when he was on Trigger Smart, I asked him in a super chat comment, hey, would you do your test, John Bray? If you get a result that is grossly inconsistent with what we see on Charlie Kirk, will you post the results anyway? And he said yes. So hopefully he gets a hold of the right explosives, and hopefully he does it in a very safe manner, in a very legal manner that does not result in anyone being injured, and he does his test and he posts it hopefully soon. Yeah, hopefully that happens. But I do not think that he will ever get a result that is remotely consistent with what we see on Charlie Kirk using his exploding microphone theory, because I can reproduce almost all of it using CO2. Looks like we do have another caller here. I'm calling them callers, which makes sense if it was like a call-in show, which it basically is. But we're going to talk to Bubba's, I think it's Lamb Chop Shop. You have been approved to speak.
Hello, Jordan. Thanks for taking me on here.
Hey, I can hear you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. What do you believe about the case and why?
Well, I have a question for you. Um, do you think that the necklace was pulled or do you think it was pushed?
I think it was pushed.
Okay, so you believe that the necklace was hit and pushed up into his neck
Yes.
because it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious it didn't break until it got to his throat because it pulled his throat back. Because his jaw dropped and it had pulled his throat back.
And it pulled his throat back. Are you talking about the one frame from about Frank Turek's angle where his entire like neck kind of gets forced upwards?
Yeah, and it looks like a rash. It
Really?
looks like a whip rash. Well, okay. The picture I seen that GTC did, he did it in black and white, and you can tell the discoloration.
GTC. Is that a Twitter profile?
Yeah, I think GTC photography,
Golf
and he
Tango
had done a
Charlie
slow down.
photography. Let me see if I
I
can
think
find that.
that's what it is. Let me check.
GTP photography?
Let me check.
That looks like a business. I don't think it would be that.
Oh, GTG Trinity.
Trinity.
Well, GTG Trinity.
So Golf Tango
Trinity.
Golf Trinity. Doing a
Yep.
search now. Are you watching on YouTube?
He's only got one or he no.
Okay.
No.
I think I'm pulling up his profile now.
But my point is is that it you can see the jaw drop, then it hits it and pulls the throat back. And snaps and go up over his ears and what have you. So yes,
What snaps?
I believe it's being pulled. I believe it's being pulled.
What snaps?
The necklace.
The necklace snaps. Okay. I think I have this video pulled up here now.
But it'd have to be the clasp. Okay.
This lag is really rough. I'm looking at the video now. Yeah, this is the same video that I'm talking about. Are you talking about how like his neck sort of, I'm looking at it now. So what I think happened, and
Right, you'll see the jaw drop,
the jaw drop.
and then you'll see it go up.
I'm going to pull it up in my video editor because I have it there. That's probably a lot easier than trying to wait for it to load on X. So give me a second and I'll pull that up here. I'm going to have to go to my view because I don't want to get flagged
Not a,
by
no.
YouTube. Okay, here we go. I'm looking at the video now. And I have frame by frame control. Yes, the neck goes down, the jaw goes down. There is sort of a line that appears directly under his ear. It goes down. And so what are you saying happens here?
I think it was pulled.
From where to
I
what
don't think
direction?
it was you I think it was pulled down from his left rear shoulder.
From his left
I
rear shoulder.
I
Okay. Now, when you look at the necklace on...
okay, where it balloons out, in the
Go ahead.
I'm under the assumption that I'm under the assumption I got two things. I got one that's physical that I can see, and that's a black thing bouncing off the microphone in front of him, and the microphone getting twice as wide. And something black crossing his thumb. That is the one physical thing I see before anything happens. Okay. He normally makes an arc down with the microphone, and at the end of the arc, the microphone moves and it gets twice as wide but blurry. So that's meaning it's at a different speed. And I see something black go across his right thumb.
Okay, that's
The
important.
burn marks on his hand would portray me to believe that something hit the microphone. Something that hit the microphone bounced off and created 5 different points of shrapnel, minor shrapnel, whatever it is, minor shrapnel, but it'll give you 5 different points of contact on the body.
When you say you see something
But
cross
I can't
across his
explain
thumb, which video angle shows something going across his thumb
his
before the event happens?
it's one of those straight on ones. It's one of those straight on ones, but one shows it and one doesn't.
Okay. I'm looking at
And
the main one.
it shows something out in it's where you can see the microphone all the way down, right by the book, kind of like, because you got to get all the way down there to see it, because that's where it hits it. And it's just the only problem I got with it is it's like 6 milliseconds off from any action. You know what I mean?
It's 6 milliseconds before
Like
he gets hit.
0.06. Yeah, before you see any movement anywhere. You know what I mean? Before you see the shirt move, before you see the necklace move, before you see any type of movement, it's like 0.06. So it's like a frame or two just before.
And how big is this object?
And it's something black that crosses his thumb. You know, okay, so it crossed the whole thumb, but I swear to God, it isn't bigger. It's half the size of the nail.
Half the size of a nail. Okay.
So I I can't give you a specific, you know what I mean?
Sure. What direction is it traveling?
But upwards,
Going up. Okay.
upwards from a microphone.
Interesting. And that's from the handheld microphone, correct?
Correct. And the handheld microphone has a dent in it.
In the mouth,
When
or
Candace
not the
holds it up,
mouthpiece, in the in the microphone guard at the top.
correct.
Yeah, that's perfectly
And I hit
normal.
all the other photos.
It's perfectly normal for there to be
Well,
that dent
okay.
in every single microphone like that
Well,
that you get. It'll always have that dent. I don't know what it's called. You can probably actually
not
find
necess-
out.
not necess- not necessarily, because I got one that didn't have it.
Um,
So I refute that. But I Candace showed that picture. She showed the three dark colored dots. She showed the blood on the other thumb. In that one still photo, all that happened, but all that happened before his arm got there. You get what I mean? So something happened from his hand out in front of him to his hand coming up to him. Now, I didn't see him spitting out a ton of blood. I didn't see him squirting out a ton of blood out in front of him. So I'm believing whatever schmutz was in the microphone when it got hit, maybe that's it. Maybe it's shrapnel. But then there's the burns on the hand in the casket that match one or two of them.
okay,
So I'm
so
like,
I am not
boy,
able to
I
locate the thing you're talking about flying out of the microphone. I will reiterate as a live
no,
sound guy that the
not
dent
not
in the
not
microphone.
not flying off, not flying off or just bouncing off. I'm not saying that the microphone was loaded with anything. I'm saying something hit it.
Okay. I'm not able to find that in the footage I'm looking at right now. That doesn't mean it's not there. That just means
Okay.
I can't find it right now. And I'm looking at all the angles I have access to. So I can look for it in the future, but I don't see it right now. As for the dent in the microphone, that definitely is normal. I've handled hundreds of microphones. Not all of them have it, but a lot of them do. It is perfectly normal. I don't know why they put it in there, but I think it's to tell you which direction to speak into it because it's sort of directional. But that is very normal to see in a Shure SM58. It's not surprising at all. Now, the stuff on Charlie Kirk's hands, you think that's shrapnel, the stuff we see in Candace's photo?
Yes, I think it's uh yeah, I don't know, yeah, it's got to be shrapnel because it created the burn.
Okay, and how did we
And the doctor
determine
couldn't,
those are
and then
burns?
I'm just going off the discoloration of the body.
How do we tell the difference between blood spatter on his hand there and burns on his hand there?
Well, I don't know. I figured it would have cleaned up, but it didn't.
What do you mean by cleaned
Usually
up?
they clean. Usually when they clean the body for
Oh,
burial
you're
or
talking
prep,
about the
they
marks on the casket hands.
and yes,
Okay. Are those marks in the same pattern as we see in Candace's
yes,
video?
yes.
Okay, I would disagree with that. I don't have.
I don't.
Okay, they did do it. You know what? Later tonight, I will post images of both of those compared. I don't have them in front of me right now. I don't have time to do that right now, but I will
Yeah,
post
yeah,
that
no,
and I'll put it in PowerPoint. Excuse me, and we'll settle that tonight. Okay?
wonderful. I thought if somebody could overlay it, I'm tied to a phone, and that's it.
Sure.
Um, if somebody could overlay the two pictures, hey, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Then yeah, then you'd say, yep, no, yep,
Perfect. So I'll
But
do that tonight
but
if I can remember. Go ahead.
my initial was he got hit 7:30, 8 o'clock position. He got it behind the ear, and it hit C1, went down and took out the rest C6 down to C6. It was the Lincoln shot, It was the Donald Trump shot. It was the JFK. It was the RFK shot. Um, and they were sending the same message. The air starts there. The chain pulling starts from back there. Um, it pulled the
So
chain up into the throat. So that's where I'm going with the force of it. I'm going the force pulled it, and the shockwave pulled it from the air blast to the gun. The bullet hit in the back of the head. Um, was it as big as what they say? Probably not. But I seen what in Butler what happened with uh, David Dutch. I seen the air movement of a 223 flickering his shirt. Um, so I can go off of that.
okay, let's try to focus on the shrapnel or the alleged shrapnel. If where do you propose the shrapnel allegedly on his hands originated from?
The microphone,
Which microphone?
his hand, the one with the dent.
Okay. How does that get from, would you agree that the handheld microphone is located basically in his palms?
Yeah, palms, fingertips. Yeah,
How does that get to the back of his hand?
that's what I mean. When the bullet hits it, the microphone is below the hands.
So you're saying the shrapnel originates in the handheld microphone that is essentially in his palms. Both his palms are facing the microphone. How does the shrapnel from the microphone end up on the opposite side of his hand?
That's on the back side of his hand. It's up.
Right.
The microphone is lower than the outside of his hand. He's
Does
palmed.
it
The microphone is palmed around his hand, right? And the marks are on the outside of his hand, on the back,
right?
on the forehand of the hand.
So does the shrapnel go through his hand?
One looks like it did. One
Okay.
looked like it burned into it.
Okay, so you're saying it went through the hand. Okay. I guess
Well,
that
and
could
it into the skin.
into the skin, but it's not like what I'm saying is does the microphone have, so to speak, line of sight to the back of his hand, or does it only have line of sight to his
Yes,
palms? It does.
to the back of his hand.
Okay. So if you hold a pencil to write with it, if the pencil were to explode, would any debris from the pencil be able to end up on the outside of your hand, on the back of your hand? Or would it explode into your palm?
I'm not saying that it exploded.
Okay.
I'm just saying it got hit by a bullet. It
Okay.
got hit by an outer bullet, and the little weaves on the outside of that shell created the shrapnel.
Okay. So that's plastic. Those covers over the top of the microphone, they're plastic, they screw on. I feel like if
No,
that were
they're
to get,
steel. They're
um,
steel.
I guess it could depend on the
They're
model, but
st-
the ones I've disassembled were plastic, but it could depend. Would you expect to have a dent that looks like that, or would you expect the whole top of the microphone to be blown off?
all depends on what hit it.
What do you propose hit it?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's I have no idea. All I see is something.
Do you
I see the mic
see
move, and it's below his hands.
when the thing hits,
So
does the microphone move up or down? Does it appear to be hit by something really rapidly?
moves to the right.
Moves to the right. So would that put the rifle
I'm sorry. His right.
to Charlie's right? Would that so I'm really struggling. Why I guess I'm not seeing the debris you're talking about. That could be why. I'm just struggling to see why
Yeah.
when the
I'm
microphone
going
comes
with the
out of his hand, it doesn't look damaged. All we see is the dent in the top of it, and I'm telling you that is perfectly
yep.
normal. That's how they're designed. And I don't see any damage to the microphone when it falls out of his hand. That's what I'm struggling with.
Right, but well, I can't find a picture with the dent in it before.
Okay. You said you're not watching on YouTube, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Let me try to find, give me a second. I'll try to find a keyword that will show you.
Oh, take your time because that's going to take some. Take your time. I mean, that's one of the two. Okay, I got that.
Okay, here we
I
go.
got physical for that
If you can,
because I also got the shrapnel in the back of the sleeve.
okay.
In the
If
back of the sleeve would bounce off the back of the chair.
so, if you type into
So
Google SM58 dent, it will show you some of them that are actually dented, but it'll show you an Adorama link that shows you one of them designed to be dented. And there's a Sound on Sound article that shows how it's intended to be dented. And there's another one on Z Sounds that shows a dented mic. There's one on Music Go Round with the dented mic. There's one on YouTube that has the dented mic. There's one on Golden Wings Fish that has a dented mic. This is how these are designed. I don't know. I can probably chat GPT it to find out why, but I assure you this is perfectly normal. Most of the mics I've handled as a former live sound guy have the dent. And I'll go ahead and ask ChatGPT right now why that's there.
you ran sound too, huh?
A little
I
bit.
used to run road. I ran roadie for bands back in the '80s.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Back in the day. Back in the day.
Okay, so we have ChatGPT's answer here. Um, I don't agree with that. Hold on. The top of the grill section.
It's an interesting road to look down. It's something to pay attention to when you run across a lot of pictures. And I've been trying to find more and more high quality pictures that shows me the dent of the mic prior to the incident.
Can you click on
They
my X
think that
profile? Are you able to click my X profile right now?
yep.
Okay, I'm going to link to that and I'm going to make a Twitter thing on that real fast. If I can find my profile. And then we'll go to Dan Cooper after that. But I want to get through this real fast. Here
Oh,
we
you go ahead.
go. So I just posted an Adorama.com link that will show you the microphone with the dent in it.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
This is an SM58, so it's the same model. I think the lens they're using is making the end of it a little bit bigger, but it'll show you the dent. It's not the same exact thing, but
See, and that's not. Yeah, that's a little different dent.
yeah, but it's
Yes.
very common.
Now if you compare that dent to overlay the dents, the picture of the two dents, you know,
It's not the same dent, it's
that'd be
not the same
something.
exact model, but I assure you I have handled many of them with the exact same dent. So we're going to leave it there. I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you
Okay.
for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it, sir. Have a nice night, and I will probably post something about that for the comparison between the hands before and after, and I will tag you in it if I can remember your Bubba's Lamb
All right.
Chop Shop. So stay tuned for that,
Wonderful.
and thanks so much. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, and now Dan Cooper, I am approving you to speak now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, this is the FBI.
Okay. Very good. I've got as much of a question as I do a comment. I guess if the microphone was hit, one of the things that I noticed in the numerous videos that I watched, and I watched them early on before any of them I would consider to be possibly doctored, is there was no report and muzzle blast that could be audibly heard, I thought, from Charlie's microphone. And so one question I have is if that microphone became damaged, would that damage impact that microphone and its receptors in terms of would we be able to audibly hear that? And I guess in my early diagnosis of looking at and listening to some of the videos, I heard basically the sounds of the cracked thump coming from um, people's cell phones, their live streams or, whatever they uploaded, basically in first person. So the fact that it didn't seem that we got any sort of audio from Charlie's microphone itself, which was, a signature point of the center of the audio at that event. What's your take on that?
I think the initial question was intended for the other guy, right?
Yourself as well, if you want. It just seems like all of the audio that
I don't think the microphone was hit by anything. So, but if it were hit by something, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on where it was hit. If it were hit, it would instantly clip. So you would get a really ugly noise in the speakers. I don't know. I haven't seen any of the audio analysis people do a good job of delineating the audio that was in real life from, from the speaker audio. I think some of them might have, but I'm not up to date on that, so I don't know if it did or did not pick up a sound. But
yeah, I had, like I said, as much of a question as anything. But it just seemed like all of the audio that I ever heard or could parse out seemed like it came from people's cell phone microphone and camera from their live stream or uploads or recordings or whatever they were doing that day. But it didn't seem that we got the amplification from Charlie's mic itself that should have been very close, that we should have heard that bullet come whizzing by very early on the day that it happened. Just to go back, I actually found the shooter location, or at least what they're telling us it was. I found that within about 20-30 minutes after the whole thing happened. I quickly ran some of the audio that was coming through on the recordings through Audacity, did a simple calculation on AI, and I got the distance about right. I started to look, who had a shot, where was the rooftop, and I found the quote unquote location of the shooter within about 7 to 8 yards. Within about 20-30 minutes after that happened. And it was either luck or science that took me there. But I basically arrived at the same destination. We were later told, I can't remember if it was that day or the next, but it was just odd that was pretty easy to find, I thought. And I'm far from a professional, but I'm pretty sharp for a hobbyist.
yeah, and I've seen the YouTube video. I don't know who it was, but someone went out to the range and they fired a 30-06 at, I think, 50 yards, 75 yards, 100 yards, and then 140 yards to listen to the different crack thumps. And 50 yards was basically no difference. And then it was like a very, very slight delay between them at 75 or 100 or whatever. And then at 100 yards, it was a more noticeable delay. And then at 140 yards, it was the exact same delay we see on Charlie Kirk. So then it's just a matter of drawing a circle around Charlie Kirk.
Correct.
You still have the issue of you don't know what the velocity of the round is, but you can approximate. And
Yeah.
it's supersonic.
I did. I went somewhere. Yep.
So yeah, good job on that.
Yeah, I went with an average speed of 2,800 to 3,000 feet per second. What struck me is when I heard it, it was to me the audio just by my naked ear was very close to what Butler sounded like, and so I said, "Wow, that's it's got to be around 100 yards, 150 yards, somewhere in there. And I'm like, so I ran it through Audacity, and I got the interval, ran it through AI, with a general supersonic Magnum round of, 2,800 to 3,000, feet per second, and probably a margin of error of 500 feet per second, which is what kind of gave you that plus or minus 10 yards. But it's just luck or good science that led me to essentially that cone of, fire range that we ended up being told,
Yeah.
that's
Where do
who
you
did
think
it. That's where he was. That's what happened.
where do you think the bullet went to?
Um, well, it's a very potent hunting round, and I find it very hard to believe that came to a rest in just the neck. And if you think like, well, who else has been killed? Well, everybody starts referencing Martin Luther King, but that went through the jaw, went through the shoulder, and ended up in a very similar fashion to where Charlie's bullet allegedly, finished. I don't believe that a 30-06 was it very well could have been a decoy round, was Tyler involved? Probably. Did he shoot the shot that impacted Charlie? I would say probably not. It could have been fired above, as a distraction. There's all kinds of ways that they can get these patsies in place. They find out that they're into some weird stuff. We don't want your family to know. There's a real easy way out of this. We need your help on these certain. I think that's what they did to the kid on the roof in Butler, is they said you're gonna show up and serve your country, or you're gonna do this or do that, and they're young, stupid, scared. How are they going to get out of this? And you're not thinking, and you show up and you bring what they told you, you do what they tell you, and all of a sudden you're in the center of one of the largest news stories of our lifetime.
And what do you think did or did not happen to Charlie?
It's I don't think that the 30-06 was the round that would have killed him. If in fact he is killed, it looks like based on your profile, you think that he's still alive, and I'm open to all possibilities, to be honest. But I definitely don't think that the 30-06 was the one that would have been the one that showed the visible injuries that we witnessed. I find that nearly impossible to believe. I shoot a lot at distance, and the energy that has behind it, I'd find it hard to believe with a 5.56. It's closer to a 22 or a 9mm, close proximity,
Do
maybe.
you think,
but
and I'm
not.
waiting for the delay here. Do you think that the wound we see on Charlie, just the visual aspect of it, is consistent with the gunshot wound?
Not with that caliber, but perhaps with something smaller and subsonic, which would lead me to believe that the 30-06 that they alleged was used as a decoy. That would be my opinion.
So something like 300 blackout sub?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you make of the
I've
shirt
seen
they
some
gave
incredible. There's got to be some sort of air disruption. That does definitely seem to match what would be a supersonic shot, or something high velocity, high energy. There's quite a bit of disruption around an impact zone that the air is disrupted. I've seen that duplicated in a few people's. They put it on a ballistic gels and things like that, and they'll show the shirt sort of fan up and things.
Sure. And those tests, are you referring to Range Day Bro and Peak Prosperity, where they try to demonstrate that cavitation would cause the chain behavior?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And what direction does the chain fly in those tests?
It seems to fly back a lot. There's almost like a whiplash effect to it.
Okay. I would disagree, and only because I've watched that video like a million times because I have it on my own channel a lot. I would disagree because in that footage both times, and I've also simulated it in Blender, all times it always goes, excuse me, it always breaks in the back and flies forward. So the cavitation breaks it in the back of the chain on the back of the neck, and then gravity just kind of pulls it forward. That's when Peak Prosperity shoots the dummy from the front. The exact same thing happens when Range Day Bro shoots it from behind. And the exact same thing happens when I simulate cavitation in a physics simulation in Blender. All 3 times it always breaks in the rear and falls forward. But on Charlie Kirk, what we see instead is something that may or may not be cavitation, but pretty much the first thing that starts moving is that cross pendant, and it is going upwards and backwards, not downwards and forwards. So that's why I reject the hypothesis that it was caused by cavitation in the neck.
Oh, cavitation in the neck. Yes, I agree with that. I'm talking about the wind, disruption of the air around the body, I guess.
Does a bullet traveling through air cause that much disruption in the air?
It would with the shirt, perhaps, but maybe not the pendant.
Yeah, I've seen the test where someone did that and they shot, I don't remember what rifle it was. This was a while ago, but I'm pretty sure it was a 30-06, and they fired it right by a shirt that was just kind of blowing freely in the wind, and there was absolutely no effect whatsoever. It was like the bullet wasn't even there. So based on that one test, I don't think a bullet is going to do that. And I certainly don't think it's going to cause the necklace to fly completely up, defy gravity, and go up and back just because of wind.
Yeah, fair enough.
So that's why I don't know how much you've looked into my tests, but that's why
I just found your page. I just found your page tonight
Sure.
on the Spaces, and it's all new to me. So I learn new perspectives all the time from people.
Sure. What I think happened is this goes along with the faked death theory. I think there was a hose connected directly to the pendant. Are you watching on YouTube right now by chance?
I'm not.
Okay. I think they had what I'm showing on YouTube right now is I have what's basically an HVAC condensate line drain cleaner, which has a CO2 cartridge connected to it. And I'm going to check my camera to make sure I'm showing this. So if you could see what I'm doing, I would have a CO2 cartridge in one hand that's connected to a little device with a trigger that allows the gas to come out. And then coming out of that device is a hose that would go up to the pendant necklace that attaches around the cylindrical pendant. And then when you press the hose, and I'm going to press it now, it sort of shoots the pendant out of the gun, so to speak. And that explains why the shirt billows out. That explains why the necklace flies up and back, not forwards and down. And that explains why Charlie's head does what it does. A lot of people look at his head behavior and think that it must be a gunshot wound, but in all of my tests, all of my demonstrations that I do here, I've actually demonstrated that exact same head behavior myself. I have a video where I show it side by side, my head and Charlie's head, and my head does the exact same thing that Charlie does for the most part, maybe just with a little bit less force. So
yeah,
that
I'm seeing it
explains.
now. It's on your pin. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see it's on your pin tweet right now, I think.
Yes, that is there.
Yep.
So that's what I think happened. And then of course you have to ask why. Within
Right.
this theory, you have the Hollywood gag, the fake death, it's fake blood, everything is fake. And I think the reason why we need the CO2 gun with the pendant is because we need to solve problems that happen when we try to take Hollywood technology intended for film sets, and we try to adapt that technology to a live context. And I haven't
Right.
figured out exactly what that problem is yet, but I think it has something to do with that transfer of technology between fields.
Hmm. What do you think would be the motive in terms of? I mean, somebody asked me, they said, "Do you think Charlie's dead?" And I said, "Well, the person we know as Charlie, I think, is dead. Like I don't think there's coming back from that. So whether that physical individual is in witness relocation or wherever, what is the motive in taking that character out and off the chessboard?"
I think that in Charlie's perspective, it was a very emotional reason. I think he feared for his life like he never had before. I think he was extremely paranoid in those final days. And I do think it was probably witness protection. I think he probably is in Valhalla right now, the physical island in New Zealand. I think that's why there's the
Hmm.
federal cover up, allegedly, because it is a federal operation. But I think the motive in Charlie's perspective was he didn't want to get killed. He wanted to save his life. I think that's why, because he felt like he was being hunted or would be hunted by a very, I guess, powerful, very scary people. I think that's the why for him. And then the why for the feds and for everyone else, TPUSA, could be a lot more complicated. But in Charlie's perspective, it was, I don't want to die. It was the fear of dying.
Well, whoever uh, launched the uh, event, whoever's responsible, they certainly wanted it very visible. And I live here locally in Utah. Um, I've been to the campus. My wife got broken up with at the exact location that Charlie was shot at, and they couldn't have picked a better venue, much like Butler. Unsecured rooftops, fishbowl, um, is perfect.
Yeah. And we were talking about this with another caller. He was asking why you would do it in such a public area, in such a public way, with so much opportunity for conspiracy theories with all of these camera angles that we have. And my
Hmm.
response to that was you need to convince this very scary person that you're actually dead. You can't just die in a plane crash, quote unquote, or in a car accident. You can't just die peacefully in your sleep. You need to sell it to these
Yeah,
people because they're.
or yeah.
So that's what I think. Um, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm interested to browse your page and look into more of your work. And um, I don't believe the official narrative, so I'm open to every possibility outside of it.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you for coming on, and you can always turn yourself into the FBI if you ever develop a conscience. All right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Bye.
Yeah, you bet. Bye.
Okay. So we're done with that one now. And I don't see any more requests right now. So we've been going for quite a while, almost for 2 hours now. So I think we're going to go ahead and call it right there. And I'm going to look at some of these comments here, see if any of them should be read. Peter says audio files plots to crack intensity followed by that rifle shot sound. The different audio files follow this pattern. You cannot use speakers to capture what we see. Yeah, the audio evidence shows that it is a physical object moving through space, which would be the bullet. I'm looking for other comments that would be directed to me. Lady Wolverine says that neck wound definitely didn't look like a bullet wound, so until I see evidence of a bullet wound, I don't think he was shot. I agree. Nobody has come out and said that looks like a normal wound. My voice is starting to do some funny things. So it's about that time. Thank you everyone for coming on. I really appreciate you. Yeah, I think we're good to go. We will be back at it tomorrow night for another normal test of the system back here. Not going to have too many upgrades. I think we're going to kind of go back to normal a little bit, but I do have a new CO2 pendant gun system. I need to go to Walmart to get some more stuff. I need to build some stuff tonight, so I'll be busy with that. But that's what I'm doing tonight. I need to get some, yeah, we'll be back with another regular test tomorrow. I kind of dumped on it on last Friday. But we'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then I'll probably do another one of these later that night around 9 p.m. Thank you everyone for coming on. I